this in your atmosphere. I know you've been defeated before. I know you've held before. I know you've been sick before. Generations and curses. 'Cause I want to let you know that God is changing your soul. God is changing your soul. God is changing your soul. He's making your crooked places straight. He's creating a way in your wilderness. He's putting a river in your desert. God is changing your soul. Unemployment.
Well, good morning and welcome to our Living Legacy webinar. We've been having a phenomenal time, an amazing bunch of information. Who put those words together, right? It's just been phenomenal, really. The response has been great. I want to thank you, Facebook, YouTube, let's see, LinkedIn, Instagram. We were sharing our information all over social media. Registration may not have been where we wanted it, but you know what? The information has gotten out. I'm going to ask you this morning, those of you that are watching, would you please hit the share button? Again, we're proud to announce, happy to announce, I should say, that we are streaming our final session. We're streaming it live. And so we want you to help us get that information out. I'm going to bring on Kaisha Slaughter. She's been our key presenter throughout this whole process. Good morning, Kaisha. How are you?
You need to
There
hear
we
me.
go.
Good morning. Good morning. How are
Good
you?
morning. It's a pleasure to see you this morning. I'm excited. I've been telling folks I'm pumped. All of the information that we've been putting out has just been phenomenal. We've been getting just record responses. And my prayer is that, as you and I had discussed earlier on, is that we can help people get their message out. Everybody has a story, and we want to help people get it out. So without further ado, we want to give space for Kaisha to do her introduction. And when she brings on her first guest, Kaisha, let's have some fun. Your first guest, let's charge them with the responsibility of giving us a quick word of prayer.
That's perfect.
Amazing.
So yeah, I am very excited for today because it wasn't according to the plan of what it was that, we suggested that may have happened or would have happened. And so it was a little bit accelerated, the first Saturday and the second Saturday, for great reason. There was so much information and content that you're going to need as an author, even an aspiring author who's just thinking about it. There's so much there for you. I had to go back and listen to it myself, and I was like, wow, that's really good stuff. We know a lot, but we don't realize just exactly how much, and all of that. So today I'm very excited because in order to become truly who you need to become as the author, as the writer, you need to know who you are. You need to understand your influence. You need to understand, and Tiffany, who's going to be speaking, she's going to explain this, far better than I can. So I just want to set it up, but you truly need to understand the impact that you make and your presence and all of that. And you can't do that until you understand your identity as an author and your identity as an individual. I believe if you've written something or if you have a desire to write something, you are a subject matter expert, but there's evidence of it now that it is in written form. You actually have something tangible in hand that shows, I know what I'm talking about. I have experience behind this. And that is the beginning of putting out your message and gathering in who you're called to gather in. So this is the first thing that you need to do, regardless if your book is published or if you are just putting pen to paper. It's coming down to the concept of who am I? What is it how do I identify myself? Because later, the second guest, Leilani, Wells, she's going to be speaking about how to become visible and the visibility of it all, because we're in a world today you cannot hide. And let me tell you, I am preaching to the choir because I am an individual who likes to hide and stand behind the work that I do. But we're not in a day and age we can do that, because our reach is being very much limited and our growth is being stifled by our own decisions. And I would like to use the word of your book, choices. By our own choices, we are causing, it's no one else, it's us. We're causing ourselves to be held back, limited, and our growth to be stifled. And we cannot do that anymore. The world is moving too fast because of the flow of information and technology. So see yourself as a key player in this world of communication, and see your book as a vital piece of technology. This is necessary for who you're called to speak to. So with all of that, I will send it on over to Tiffany Rochelle. She is a dear friend of mine, and I'm blessed to know her. She truly, over the last 12 months, has helped me get into I want to say, the core of the seed of identity of who I am. Speaking very much to, I knew who I was, but there was so many fragments of false narratives that had to be removed so I could be in this place speaking to you and no longer hide. And so again, this is necessary to the author, and this is very much necessary to the writer, because as you're writing, all of those fragments of doubt, they want to bring themselves up, and this is not the season for it, because you've got something important to release. So without further ado, Tiffany Rochelle.
Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning. So we threw you under the bus, so to speak.
I heard.
Did you hear?
Yeah, I heard.
So I probably shouldn't say throw under the bus. That's not an appropriate term. But we did charge you with the responsibility of blessing our webinar this morning. Do you mind doing that?
Well, I will say it will be my honor. As Kaisha said, she's different than mine, so she knows the history with me in prayer. So I'm sure she's laughing really hard internally right now. So yes, I will be honored to. Dear Heavenly Father, you are so amazing and awesome, and we thank you for bringing us together and charging the Creator with pulling this together, so that those that you have given the inspiration, that you have given the assignment to write their stories, to write their books, to be able to inspire and to share you with the masses, Father, that they will get what they need so that they can go forth and multiply. I thank you that your Holy Spirit is with us on this live, because I never know what I'm going to say, because Holy Spirit has the keys. So we thank you. We bless your great and holy name, and we pray that everyone that listens to this live or listens to it afterward receives what they need to do your will. We thank you. We bless you in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen.
Yes. So let me be honest. I'm a really transparent, roll and go kind of person. So I wasn't lying when I said I never know what I'm going to say. So I will ask you: is there something that I know Kaisha had some questions, but am I just rolling and flowing? Because I'm here. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, ready to go for me. Really just speaking to the baseline of all of those who are watching. From what I've gathered and all of the great feedback, is just really gearing them up to be in position of identifying who they truly are, and however it's led for you to release that. I don't think there's any, I don't believe there's any line that I know you would never cross. So feel free.
But before you start, I will say this: we actually have some guests that are in the back, and we can actually bring them on if you like, so we could have them on live while we're having a discussion. Would you guys like that?
That's not a problem. You want to do it if they start asking questions.
Well, what we'll do is they can hear us now.
Okay.
We'll just ask everybody to hold their questions and mute their devices. And when you finish with the presentation, I'm actually kind of technical directing this morning.
All right.
This is our last day, so Kaisha, I'm kind of giving all of my host strength over to her. And so when you finish, Kaisha, then you can kind of direct the people to release their microphones. I'm here, but I'm doing more of technical directing, and I got a short video I'll share later in the session. So before you get started, why don't we go ahead and bring them on? Reverend Dr. Carolyn Allen, God bless you this morning. Thanks
Good morning.
for being with us.
Good morning.
Author Tanisha Franklin. She's an award-winning author. The book God Changed My Story. And we also have Reverend Pastor Jan Nathan Austin. She's with us on this morning. Soon to be working with you, Kaisha. There's one other Dr. Renee is on, but I don't see her camera yet. So you'll probably see me bring her in soon. Tiffany, what we'll do is we'll give you the main screen, and then the rest of us kind of be lined up alongside of you. And without further ado, go ahead and take it away.
I am flexible. However it flows, I will flow with it. First of all, I want to say thank you, Thurston, for this tremendous opportunity. And thank you, Kaisha, for thinking of me and bringing me in. Kaisha knows that if she asks me anything, I will say yes. she's one of my yes, Lord friends. So I'm going to show up with bells and whistles on. And so when she asked me to take part in this, I was like, well, what do you want me to say? And she was like, well, say what you say. And so last night I was getting prepared because let me tell you a little bit about myself. So my name is Tiffany Michelle, and I'm a leadership strategist and accountability coach. And I am called to high functioning, high performing, kingdom focused leaders to help them to face the challenges and transitions of leadership so that they maintain their integrity and that they are able to clear any blocks or challenges that are keeping them from pursuing and being aligned with their proper assignment, with their God-given assignment. And so a lot of my clients are apostles, prophets, ministers, or business leaders, entrepreneurs. And what I also help them do is to bring natural balance to their supernatural lives. Right? Because we pray, we're appointed, we're anointed, but sometimes it all gets in between. So I help bring the lines together and get harmonious. Well, when I was writing, I'm like, do I just tell them about being a great integral leader, following God, listening to God's voice? I wrote some notes down, decided, okay, well, we'll work with this. And literally just before, while I was getting my tea to sit down, Holy Spirit said, tell your story. So that's what I'm going to do. And I have a lot of stories. So I was like, well, which one? Right? So if you are in this space, I'm sure you understand, we all have a lot of stories. So I will compact and comprise my story to how I got here and how I became this leadership strategist. I am a best-selling author. My book is Dear Leader, a personal guide for leaders through peace, pandemic, and protest. And it took me almost 12 years to publish that book. So I have always been a leader. I was born a leader. I was leading when I was a kid. You know, that was my life, right? And I was raised in a pretty conservative religion. And so in that religion, it was the only thing that we did was pray and pretty much not participate in anything outside, right? So what that literally meant for me was gifts and talents and things that were given to me kind of went to a burial ground because it was, well, we're just waiting for, the Lord to come and that's going to be it. So it doesn't make sense to go to college and to do secular things. And all you should do all day is praise, and seek to show other people God, right? And so it just never sat right with me. Religion never took hold of my heart, even though I was raised in it from birth. And so when I turned 18, I was like, last ditch effort, let me try to be this religion. And I puddled along until about 23. And 23, I walked away from religion, and I thought that I was walking away because God didn't want to hear me, because I wasn't doing what the religion said I should do. And because I'm not a hypocrite, I didn't pray for 10 years. I did not utter a prayer because I believed I had no right to ask God to give me or help me do anything if I was not doing what He wanted me to do according to the religion. I'm giving you this backdrop because many of us, we have different varying experiences, and we don't know how much these experiences are specifically designed for each and every one of us. And it's our story. It's the story that we've been given to get out. It's the story that we've been given to share in order to inspire and impact other people. It's our story that we've been given that is our expression of God through us, right? And so fast forward life, I didn't have a bad life. Like, I didn't have a bad childhood. I didn't even have a bad adulthood. You know, I was married, divorced, married again, divorced. I mean, I have children. And around 2009, the Lord had a prophet reach out to me, a stranger reach out to me on Facebook. And we were like, I think we were on some social media group together. And excuse me, she just inboxed me and said, the Lord said, right, the time is now, like, your path has been laid out before you. Everything you need is supplied. Now, this was interesting for me because I was raised in a religion that didn't believe in prophetic, didn't believe in prophets. Everything, anything that was spiritual other than God was literally labeled demonic. So I had to scratch my head, but for some reason, I believed it. I believed her. I trusted her. And to this day, we're very, very, very close friends. But I looked at it and I'm like, okay, write what? People had been telling me I needed to write a book. And so I'm a really good writer, y'all, but I don't like to write, or I didn't like to write. So how many of y'all can relate to that? Like, you can just raise your hand. Like, you got something to write down, but you don't have a joy in writing. So I didn't have a joy of writing, even though, and this is not arrogance, I'm an amazing writer. I've been writing since I was in first grade. That's like, I went to old school where the teachers made you do essays every day, where we had pen pals. So I'm like, okay. But at that time, that was also where I was grounding my corner, my personal relationship with the Lord. I had been writing in a journal every day. God, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you to me? Who am I to you? Why am I here? There's got to be more than this. Who are you? Every day, that's all I wrote. Who are you? Who am I? Who are you to me? And who am I to you? And I would get snippets. I would get snappets. And I would, it just evolved, right? In the meantime, I'm still doing leadership, but I consider myself a Moses. I was a reluctant leader, even though I was born a leader. I'm a firstborn in my family. People would look to me for answers all the time. They would come to me immediately, be like, Tiffany, can you help us? I had it. I did not want to. I didn't want to be in the front. I like to be in the back. I'm a producer type. I'm an executive producer type. Like, y'all go ahead and get the spotlights and the accolades. I'll sit here in the back and I'll help y'all do what y'all need to do. And then I'll slink off into the darkness, right? That was my MO, because I've never been an attention seeker. He kept pressing me. I won't go through all the journeys and the valleys that I went through. But in 2015, I went to Africa. I went to South Africa. And the way it happened was a young person that I had met in a master class was like, Tiffany, I need you to come with me to South Africa, and I need you to do a leadership workshop. I need you to teach leadership. I need you to teach leadership. And so I'm like, okay, I'll go. I've always wanted to do Peace Corps, right? This was not the Peace Corps, but I was up for the adventure. I went to South Africa for what I thought was one trip to teach a master class, a class on leadership. And I titled that class Influencing the Influencer. And I was working with youth in a community it's still one of my best memories. Anyway, I was working with this youth and I titled this Influencing the Influencer, teaching young people how to not be social media influencers, but how to use their influence to affect change in the world and in their communities, and to empower them to understand that they had everything they needed to get it done, right? Meanwhile, I'm being ministered to. You're a leader. You're supposed to be doing this, making a change, making an impact, making a change, making an impact. And I felt I was not sufficient. How many of you can relate to that? The feeling of, even though you are actually doing the thing, you don't feel like you're sufficient in doing it, that you're enough. It's like, for me, mine was, I had seen so many people lie about who they were. And I'm a truth beacon. I'm a truth speaker, right? I had seen so many people lie about who they were and what they were capable of doing that it paralyzed me to say, I don't want to be that person. So me not wanting to be that person led to me not being any person, because I refused to show up in the front. And then God kept pushing me and he said, I made you to be in the front. Even though you don't want to be, I made you to be in the front. And so one trip to South Africa ended up me going to South Africa twice a year for the last, since 2015. I didn't go during the pandemic, but in between times I was going. And all the time, God was building my confidence. He was building my story. He was building my ministry. When I tell you the last place and the last person I thought I would be is the person that I am now, I can't emphasize enough how far from who I thought I was to who I am now, how great the distance. And it was only because I agreed to trust God and walk with him and be obedient to the assignment. So obedience to the assignment is more than just saying, okay, I hear you, God. It is actually doing it. There was so much of my life, and still now, I never know what's going on. I feel like I never ever know what's going on. And that keeps me humble and it keeps me obedient, right? Because I'm always looking for the assignment. And with this stature, I have been able to accomplish more and be in places where my clients are CEOs, they're deans of universities, they're high functioning apostles, prophets, leaders that people want to talk to. They come to talk to me because the Lord has given me the wisdom. He has given me the anointing. He's given me the guidance to be able to function with leaders and help them to function better. So in 2017, I was sitting in South Africa, and I was there with my friend, who's also my spiritual mother. And in the middle of our conversation, the Lord downloaded this book to me, but he didn't do the whole job, right? Some of us have been fortunate where the Lord is like, this is what I want you to write. This is what I want you to say. Put it out, get it out, spit it out, it's done. I was not one of those fortunate people, and I was fuming. I was angry. I'm going to tell you now. Sometimes doing our assignment is doing it kicking and screaming. It's not just doing it uncertain, right? Unsure, don't know what's next. It is doing it kicking and screaming. And so in 2017, he was like, you're going to write a book. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to write it. And I'm going to write letters to leaders as they go through things, because that's who I serve. That's what I saw, was how many leaders don't know how to ask for help, don't know when to ask for help, don't know if they can ask for help, and they're suffering. They're suffering. We're suffering. And so he literally made me write every one of these letters myself by hand. I wrote this book by hand. And I was fussing the whole time. Well, Lord, how come you won't just give me the words? How come you won't just tell me? Like, how many of you can feel that, right? I did not publish this book until 2021, January 2021. And I'm going to tell you a funny story about that. So in 2020, it was a year of fasting. I fasted every month for a year. So September rolled around and I was like, because writing takes inspiration, right? I was feeling uninspired, but I was like, I'm going to just take September. I'm going to put myself in a corner. I'm going to write this book and I'm going to finish it, because the Lord had told me I had till December to get it done. He's like, all right, I'll let you hang out for a while with this book, but you're going to write it. I'm not going to write it for you. And you're going to get it done by December. So I'm like, all right, here we go. September hits. And I'm just like, I'm going to fast and I'm going to write this amazing book. September came. And not only did I not finish this book, but the Lord downloaded a whole nother book to me. Like, he did what I knew he could do, but he refused to do for this book. He did what I knew he could do. And then he said, now put that book away and go and finish the one that I told you to write. I was stuck. Like, okay, the only thing I can do is be obedient. So this part of the story is for you who are struggling with your obedience, struggling with your structure, struggling with your idea and ability, right? I had to do it anyway. And it required me to discipline myself. It required me to sit down and focus. And so I wrote and wrote and wrote, and I didn't get it finished by December. I got it finished in January, and I published it in January. In December, on the 31st of December, I was praying over this book in 3 different time zones. I had my prayer partners and we prayed over this book. So you need to be praying over your work. Have your prayer partners who are your purpose and your destiny partners, who will walk with you through the challenges and understand your assignment, connect with you and push you forward. And don't be afraid to lay out your fears. So December 31st, it was not physically done, but I knew it was done. And I prayed over it. I prayed over it in time zones. I had it prayed over in continents. And then it was published January 7th, and it became a bestseller, I believe, January 14th, January 21st of 2021. Right? I'm saying this to say that the Lord will give us work, and he will not always explain how it's going to work. And sometimes I'll speak for myself. He was like, write the book and I'll take care of it, right? What I thought take care of it meant looked different than what God was saying. This book has been such a teacher for me. Your book is your teacher. Your book is your source of impact to start conversations, to influence. Going back to influence the influencers. Why would God give us influence? Why does he give us the ability to impact other people's lives? Because it's overall, my theory overall is that each of us has the same purpose. And purposes are seasonal, right? So your purpose in your 20s is different than your purpose in your 50s. But also your purpose in people's lives, your purpose in this world is different according to the timing. But all of us that share our purpose is to identify who we are, whose we are, who we are here to serve and serve them. And when we serve others, then we activate them to do the same. That is our purpose. Once we identify who we are, and not who we are on social media, not who we are by our title, but who we are according to what God has given us, according to the story and the life that we have lived, the experiences that we have taken a part of, the prayers that we have prayed, and who God, the personality that you have, the character that you have, that God has said, I made you like this because there's people who are waiting to hear me, and the only way they can hear me is through you. Each of us is a piece of God's expression. And the way that we are is very important, not because we're important, but because the part of God that's in us is important to his other children. Y'all understanding what I'm saying? It's like we all have heard of radio frequencies. If you tune into certain radio channels, you know, some people like country, some people like rock and roll. Everybody's not going to listen to each thing, but the people who are supposed to listen to country, and if you're a little bit country, that's you. And if you're a little bit rock and roll, then that's you too. We have to get clear about the identity because we've been fooled into thinking we need to comprise ourselves into small boxes, that we need to conform to the ideas of our religions, of our families, of our cultures, of our society. When in actuality, that's not it. We can never truly be who God designed us to be until we ask him, Lord, how'd you make me? And why'd you give me this bold confidence to stand out? Why did you give me this analytical viewpoint to look at things in details? Why did you make me sing? Why did you make me dance? How am I supposed to use that to impact and to go on? When we get clear about those things, then we understand why he gave us influence and we will wield it better. Understand that your title means nothing. Your position means nothing. The number of years you've done something means absolutely nothing if you do not do it according to God's specific plan for you. And he has a specific one for you. You are in the process of writing books and getting to the place of going, okay, the next speaker is going to talk to you about being seen. You need to ask yourself a couple of questions. Why am I doing this? Why is God asking me to do this? Who is he asking me to do this for? And am I willing to do it blindfolded? Because baby, I will tell you, and I know you know, it's a roller coaster ride. Some days are real dark, and it's not because we're sad. It's just because the Lord hasn't shown any light on it. And we're confused and we're wondering. But when you know your presence, what your presence signifies and what your purpose is and the impact of your presence, then you can do anything. You will stand anywhere and you will shine as God has designed you to shine. I don't know how much time I have. I don't know if I'm out of time. I don't know if we have questions, but I'm going to pause right there.
So I'm gonna recap what you said for a second, because that was a lot of greatness, a lot of goodness. And so definitely, you know, before we can move on to, like I said in the beginning, to Leilani Wells and understanding how to be seen and the purpose and the point, the reason why being visible is so important. Again, not just as an author, but the aspiring author, you've got to start from the beginning and you have to put yourself out there. But how could you do that with the right motive? How can you do that with the right intent? And as Tiffany just said, understanding your influence without tainting it. How can you get out there and be seen and be visible? There's no point of knowing the strategies and the reasonings and all of that behind getting seen and being visible. There's no point if we don't understand why we're doing this. And so just wanting to go through for just a second. So one of the things that you spoke about was, what am I writing? And even for those of you who are authors, what have you written? And you'll need to go back as if it were any business. I like to call this going beyond the book. So you need to go beyond the book and you need to see this in a broader scope. If you've written a book or if you're writing a book, what are you writing? Can you tell it to yourself briefly what it's about? They call it like an elevator pitch or a mini, just a quick, example or a throw out about, could you tell me what it is what you've written? Can you tell that simple enough to yourself to where it makes sense to you? Because if you can't just come right out and say, this is what I write, not just the one book, see it as many, but there's a topic area, there's a focus. What are you writing? So it's important for us to make note of that. What am I writing? I'm going to put Dr. Thurston on the hot seat. You don't have to respond, but you came to mind. So your first book is called Choices. So, we can explain, oh, yes, I've written a book called Choices. It's about making those decisions in life and no longer being having an obscure perspective, making these definite decisions. But is that all that you have to talk about? So when you go into the space of explaining who you are and explaining who you are as a writer and a voice of influence, I'm sure it's beyond that first book. Now, it may always be under the decisions and the scope of making choices, but it's going to be so broad, and you've got to narrow down the core of what it is that you are speaking to, so that with the individuals who are looking for their answer, they'll find it in what you say. So it's very important to understand, what are you writing? I love that you spoke about the reluctant leader, because let me raise my hand. That me. and it's all of us, really. We're a reluctant leader. And this is the assignment that God gave me. He said, there are those who have something to write, and it's easily 8 years old. Every client that I've had, and I've got about 100 clients that I've worked with in a couple of years, I'm going to say 90% of them have all had a book that was 8 years old or longer that they had sat on. You are a reluctant leader, because one of the things that you also said was, even though you're doing the thing, you don't think you are enough. Listen, you're living the life that you're supposed to write, whether it be by hobby or it be by testimony. Whatever you're doing, you're living it. And the fact that you have a thought or an idea to write this thing out so that someone has a copy or an evidence or a guide or a blueprint of how you do what you do, or how you got through what you got through, or how to follow your steps, you're still living it. You're still going through it. So again, even though you're doing the thing, you don't think you are enough. We have to get to a place of understanding, I am enough. What I am doing today is enough. Everything that I've done is enough. And I'm writing something that's valid. I believe in it. Because again, when we go to be visible, when we step into getting seen and being seen, this is where the problem's going to lie. You won't be your true, authentic self, and you're not even going to, you don't have to worry about people feeling you're phony or you're not real or authentic. You're not going to be real. You're not going to feel your authentic self. So it says a question, and I'll read this quickly. What kind of pain and suffering pushed you into writing these books and encouraged you to walk into the path of obedience? So that's a great question for everyone to ask themselves. And I don't know if that's directed. It's a question for the speaker. I see that. Great question to have noted, even for yourself as you're going through your process. And you may need to bring that up once again. I'm going to go through this and we'll go back to that before we get to Leilani Wells. So Thurston, I'll ask you to bring that question up one more time as soon as I finish running through this. So that is the focus, is being honest with yourself and being clear about what you're writing, who you are and who you're writing to, and knowing that you're enough. Everything that you've gone through and that you're writing about, you are a subject matter expert. Your identity is in that. Okay, so I also wanted to point out, let's see, in everything what you said, Tiffany, and I know typically how your talks and your lessons go, and so it's funny that you felt led to tell this story because we don't realize what's pulling us forward. So wherever we are today, sometimes we have to stop for a moment and take a breath, and we do have to realize how far we've come. We have to realize what has propelled us forward, and so I do believe that there is a calling. I do believe in destiny, and there is this pulling forward for us to get to a place. And even for those of us who hit that moment where it's like, I need to write a book, and you're like, for what? I don't even understand. There's a greater purpose. So don't fight it. And for those who are wrestling, don't fight the call to write a book. This is documentation. See it as this. This is documentation of your journey. And although, again, you may not see the value in it, if you walked up to a stranger and they looked like they were desperate and in a very dry place, and you asked them what was wrong and they told you and it lined up with your life, you would stand there and you would pour into that individual all that you could because you've been through it before. And we have to see that book as an opportunity to reach many people, to pour into them with regardless of whatever their situation is. And I'm speaking of help books, but it doesn't even have to be a help book. It could be something very much lighthearted or even something as far as a hobby. You have no idea the impact that your book can actually make. So I did want to point that out because I thought that was wonderful, realizing what's pulling you forward and why. And so then also building confidence along the way. You don't realize, that was something that you also said, Tiffany, you just don't realize that as you take a step forward, your confidence is being built. It's like the baby steps, a baby getting up and they'll stand for a minute, they'll drop back down. Then they're confident enough to take a step, but they'll drop back down. They're confident now to walk on 2 feet, but they're holding on to something. Confidence is building rapidly, but it can't get there if we don't initiate and take action. So the giving the yes, the obedience of saying, okay, I'm going to do this thing and I don't really know how to do it. Especially when we get to Leilani, I want you all to know the obedience. And Tiffany said, do it kicking and screaming. I'm in that space of, okay, I've got to be visible and I have to get seen. I have something I have to share, and I'm going to be doing it kicking and screaming because it's beyond me. The feedback from all of those who've watched so far over the last couple of weeks, and to see that everything that I know and I've had bottled up from my experience, that it actually helped other individuals. It's like, oh my gosh, I am hurting people by not sharing my knowledge as much as I thought I was sharing my knowledge. And so I've got to get seen and I have to be visible and I have to do it kicking and screaming. And so, as I said, I've gone through the journey of realizing more of who I am, what I have in here, what I have in my heart, and who it is I'm called to serve. Now I need to get out there and get seen. And we'll be talking about that in just a moment. Then realizing discipline is required. As a writer, as an author, as you seeing yourself as this is more than a book, this is a business. For those of us, this is a kingdom business. Whether people realize it or not, we're created to be something for something. And I would not be mistaken to say this is God-given and God-destined. So we're doing this for a purpose that's greater than what we even realize that it can be. But discipline is required because in order to do this right, to do this with excellence, and to do it timely, you've got to be obedient to what you're being led to do. So please make note of that. And then the final rundown was understanding why he's giving you this influence. This is important again, because to be visible and to get seen, again, we can get all of the knowledge that we need from Leilani, who's going to come up and speak about that. But if we're not understanding why we're being given the influence, and really trusting and knowing, okay, God, I'm going to do this, and he's going to bring the people to me by me being obedient to speak what I need to speak. You have to understand why you have that influence. You have to understand why he's giving you that influence. And we may not truly have a full understanding, but you at least need to stay in a place of seeking, okay, I'm doing this. I believe I'm supposed to do this, keeping the right heart, keeping the right motive, and realizing it isn't necessarily for fame and fortune. Now that'll come because it's promised to us. But at the same time, that's not our driving factor. We got to know our whys. We have to know our whos. And it has nothing to do with the dollar, and it has nothing to do with our name being in shiny lights and being called all over. That comes with the territory. That's the blessing. But we have to understand the work behind it. And why is this influence being given to us? It's to reach people. Okay, so we have to keep in mind of that. And then these are the important questions I want us to take note of. We'll go back and answer that question, and for the speakers and any of the authors who are here who would like to also answer that, I believe you can speak to this, and I would like to hear your answers to that question. But these are the most important things as well. Everything was so important, so I'm saying everything is most important. But this was equally as important. Why am I doing this? This is so key. Please make note of this. Why am I doing this? Why am I writing this book? Why am I being called to speak? Why do I now need to be seen and have this influence? Why? You've got to know the why, okay? And and like Tiffany said, she kept asking, who are you, God? Who are you, God? Who are you, God? Until you get an answer, you just have to keep seeking it, okay? Why me? Why is it me? Why did he choose me of all people? Like, you know, I met a lot of women in a one particular season who all dealt with domestic violence. And when I heard of them tell their stories were so different, yet the same. And all of them could have said, well, why would you want to hear my story? Because what you went through and how you got out of it and through it, it's not the same as someone else. The pain points, the triggers, the things that you saw, the red flags that you overlooked, all of that, it's like hindsight is 2020. All of what you went through now makes sense. And so there are people in different stages of life who may not see it how you see it, and they may need to. It will help shorten up where they are so they can quickly get out of that current situation. And again, I'm speaking on the topic of domestic violence because that's what comes to my mind to say. But everyone's journey is different, and we all sit and see different things. And so it's required. So why me? Why do you want me to write this thing? There's value in it. There's something you saw differently than someone else, and there's a way that you're going to articulate it that someone else can't. Who am I doing this for? You've got to know who you're doing it for. It's very important to realize your audience. Who are your readers? Who are your listeners? Because it's different than a reader. Who are your listeners? Realizing who is called to be led by you. Who are these individuals? You would think they're all the same, and it's been made clear to me they're not, because there's different levels and classes of individuals who would be called to you, but you've got to classify them, and you have to understand where they are, who they are, and what they're looking for. What is it that they're associated or connecting to you for? So these are some things to write down and really go into a ponder and prayer. Okay, so who am I doing this for? And finally, can you do this blindfolded? Do you have blind faith? Blind obedience? Can you do this blindfolded? This takes a lot of trust. And for many of us, it's like, okay, God, I trust you. I believe in every divine connection, whatever it is you're doing for me. But this is what it comes down to. Those of us who are like, I trust God, I do. This is the problem. You don't trust you. You don't trust you because you're living in the old mindset of who you were. You're not that person anymore. Effective immediately. You woke up today new all over again. with a new concept of who you are and who you're going to be. So effective immediately. Can you trust you to say, you know what, I'm making a different decision today? Because that's what it comes down to. Choices, Dr. Thurston. So with that, let's go back to that question to ask again. And then we will move on to Leilani. And hopefully everybody is in a state of saying, you know what, I can do this thing. And now I'm ready to be visible. And yes, it may require some kicking and screaming, but it's not that hard. And Leilani is a sweetheart to where she's going to give it to you straight, but she's going to give it to you really easy because it's not that hard. It's just making a decision to do it. So the question again for this speaker, and so this is for you, Tiffany, and if there's another author who wants to put in on this, but to Tiffany, what kind of pain and suffering pushed you into writing these books? And so you gave us a little bit about Dear Leader, but if you can give us that. And I want to also ask Tanisha, because Tanisha had the pushing of pain to get this book out. If it's okay, Tanisha, what comes to my mind is for you to even, I remember one of our conversations was about, and I don't want to say anything, have anyone's testimony told who's not willing for it to be told, you know best. But there was a conversation regarding your son. And if that's not the direction you want to go, then don't go there. However, what was the pain behind it? That just stood out to me now. And encouraged you to walk in the path of obedience. So Tiffany, take her away.
Okay, I'm going to answer that question, but before I do, there was a statement, the statement of why me, right? Why are you choosing me to write this? I just want to remind us, it's the posture of that question, right? The posture of that question is very important. It can't just be, well, why would you choose me? Like, I'm nobody. It's literally, but why? God, instruct me. Let me know why you chose me. There's a difference in that question, even though it's the same question. So that just stuck out to me. So I just wanted to make sure that when you posture yourself, it's not you shouldn't choose little old me. It's like, teach me why did you choose me so that I can do this right? So that. Now to the question, the funny thing about pain and suffering is I didn't feel like I had any. And so that was one of the things in my life that I felt I wasn't qualified, because people around me were living in their cars and doing all kind of stuff and talking about how they had fled from near death or attempted suicide. I didn't have any of that as my story. So that was part of a hang up for me, where I thought I didn't have anything to talk about. And so what actually did happen was I had experiences, I just didn't process them like pain and suffering. My processing was different, right? I processed everything in my life as a lesson. Not as, and not to say I wasn't hurt in my life, because I was, but I just processed it as a lesson. And so what pushed me into writing the books is that I was walking with God, and the closer I got, the more obedient I wanted to be. And the pain of like just longing to be close to God. I'm a person who, if I tell you I'm going to do something, I keep my word. So if I can keep my word to man, I got to keep my word to God, right? And it was if he told me to do it, even though he would let me pause, play around with the deadline, play around with the time, I knew it had to be done. And so the pain point, I guess the biggest pain point was just going, this isn't what I want. Like, life has to be better. There has to be more. Like there's something else. And so I felt like God was instructing me, do this and you'll see the more. Do this and you'll see the more. He was literally dragging me along with a carrot, but that was it. That was my obedience, was looking to see the promises of God, looking to be close to God, and then believing what he said about me, even when I didn't believe it about myself. I hope that answers the question.
Absolutely. Tanisha, is Tanisha here?
Yes.
I can't see.
I'm still here.
Did you want to answer this one? I feel like it's a great one for you.
Yes, I can. So what pushed me was a little bit different from the question you asked. I can go back to that question, but for this particular book that I just published, God Changed My Story, what pushed me was I was already telling my story, if that made sense, and I was ministering to a lot of women at work and even in stores. You know, sometimes God would send me to a particular store and I had no reason why I was there, and I would run into someone. So a lot of the pain helped me to realize that there's other women out here that's going through this particular pain, and I'm already telling the story. So if I'm telling it to just a couple people I don't even know, why not write this story to help other people? Because that is my passion. I love people. And so I love to talk, and I will, talk to you. And if I hear something that you talk about that I've been through, I would tell you my story just out the blue because I could hear God telling me to tell that, So a lot of my pain came from one, being a single mom, because I just thought to myself, like, if I can help other women get through this point in their lives, then I want to do that. And so God kept throwing at me the book, write this book, write this book, because so many women would be blessed. And when I began to write the book, you talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Who are you writing to? I thought I was just writing to single women. That was my audience in the beginning, but God began to minister to me and tell me that you're not only going to be writing to that particular group, you're going to be writing to single mothers, you're going to be writing to abused women, you're going to be writing to women that may have, just different things, married women, after marriage. So that really struck me as I was writing this book. It really made me hurry up and push and get the book out. So with my son, that is for my next book. That part struck me to write my second book that I'm currently writing, because with my son, that showed me that I was still dealing with a lot of hurt and pain, and that God was trying to heal me from that. And so that's coming out in my next book this year. But that is where it came from with my son, because in order for my son to be healed, God had to reveal to me that I had to be healed. Because if I'm walking around here and I'm not healed, and I'm doing things that I'm not supposed to be doing, or I'm saying things where I'm telling him not to do it, but if I'm doing it, he's going to follow that lead. So I had to sit down and humble myself. God had to humble me to completely be healed in order for my son to heal. So I hope that kind of answers the question.
I believe it does. I hope that it does. And I can see almost, but I can't see. I mean, I don't see any names, and I don't want to miss anyone's name. But to the beloved, I want to say Pastor Reverend, I'm not quite sure, but with the book about the sinner, if she could please give her story about writing through the pain that pushed her into writing what she wrote, what pushed her to do that. We've heard it last week, but I would love for her to say that again, because it also applies to the question.
Good morning, everyone. It's a blessing to be here again today, and I'm certainly enjoying the webinar. It's just outstanding. But I wrote my book based on being out of character. It was, of course, through, I could say, partial pain, not really much pain, but I knew and recognized the fact that I was completely out of character. And sometimes experiences in life can push you into a different place where you haven't been before. And that in itself will cause you to take note, pay attention to where you are, who you are, what you're doing. If you're out of character, not in line with what God's will is for your life. So this is what caused me to write my book, What Do You Expect from a Sinner? And speaking to the entire audience, whoever would pick up the book, whoever's been through pain by way of a sinner, you could just stand back and ask yourself a question. What do you expect from a sinner? Because we have a tendency to expect the sinner to do the right thing when a sinner is not going to do the right thing. So I believe that obedience is better than sacrifice. And if we trust in God, in our writing, in our thinking, in our leading, in our guiding, in our direction, if we trust in God all the way, He will lead us and not only anoint us, but He'll teach us He'll teach us the things that he wants us to put out into the world. We are living epistles. And of course, he operates through us and he teaches us what to give his people. We are his mouthpiece in the earth. And if he has given anyone anything to write or a story to tell your story, write your book. Don't hold back. Don't be afraid, because God uses his children. And he uses us in a way, yes, that we do not even expect. Asking a question, why me, God? Well, it's not about that. The prayer is, Lord, thy will be done. And I would put this out to everyone who has been encouraged by God to walk in ministry, walk in the calling that God has called you into. Say, Lord, thy will be done, because he has created us for purpose. And certainly we don't all know our end until we get there. But one thing for sure, a lady told me years ago, her name was my mother, Hattie Bryant. She always said to us, and she was an elderly lady, but she hung out with all the younger girls. And she said, let God lead you, because he's a mighty good leader. And certainly the book that I wrote, What Do You Expect from a Sinner? I want each and every one who has anything to look down on anyone or a sinner, what they've done, how they've hurt them, what they've done to them over the years, not only to ourselves, but to people that we know that have been afflicted and wounded by sinners. We can forgive them because they are sinners. And that's what Jesus came for. He came for all sinners, no matter who you are, what you've done, where you've been, where you're going, what you're going to do in the near future. We have to believe and know that we must, as women and men of God, children of God who have experienced the power of the Holy Ghost, that we know that we can pray for sinners. And you know what? If you believe God, he will hear and answer our prayers. And so this is what he came for. And that's why I wrote my book. What do you expect from a sinner? Those words God spoke to me at midnight. I don't know if you all heard my story, but at midnight, I was at a traffic light. And of course, should have been home, minding my own business, but chasing a lie. I was dating this gentleman. I didn't believe he was working over the weekend. I'm going to drive 30 miles out of the way just to see if he was at home. And at the traffic light, the God of light made that traffic light stand still until I called on him. And I thank him to this day, because I sat there, a woman of integrity, not going to take the light because there was no other traffic out there. I could have turned left and went on my way, but I didn't. But God had me to stand still and ask him, Lord, please deliver me from what I'm going through. And he, in his mighty power, turned around. When I asked him a question, he turned around and asked me a question. And he said, what do you expect from a sinner? And when he said those words gripped me so, I'm telling you today. I said, yes, Lord, yeah. What do I expect from a sinner? So the light turned green when I said those words. I did a U-turn and went home and have been delivered from that day to this one. And the reason why I wrote my book is because if those words delivered me, it can deliver anyone to be able to forgive everyone for whatever they've done. So I hope and pray that, this will go on. This is so wonderful, Dr. Thurston. I just love you so much for opening up the door for all of us to be able to share our experiences and our books. And I want you all to be encouraged to know that God is a mighty good leader and he never fails. And whatever he has given you to do, whatever he has given you to say, whatever he has given you to write, wherever he wants you to go, just trust him and allow God to lead you forward in that place where he wants you to go. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you so much. I hope these words helped you.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. So, Dr. Thurston, before we move on to where we need to be, is there anything you'd like to say?
I think everything is great. I just want to say, those of you that are watching Facebook and YouTube, I am monitoring, and it's amazing to have so much support. I want to tell you all to be mindful. On the bottom of the screen, we have some tickers that are rolling. I'm trying to keep up with the information. I'm getting goosebumps back here myself as the information is being rolled out. Everyone will have access to this on demand afterwards. So you definitely can go back and get it on demand. But we definitely want you to be able to contact the speakers. So I'm working hard to try and produce and publish that content as they are speaking. We do have a few guests. I know they're sitting silent, Kaisha, but allow me to introduce them real quick. Pastor Janathan Austin, I call her Pastor Jan affectionately. And she is an upcoming author. And then we have Reverend Dr. Carolyn Allen that is with us, and she is also an upcoming author. The two of you, if you want to just have brief words and greet the guests and the viewers. I think we have, at some point, it was like 20-something viewers that I've seen. So it is some activity out in social media. But if you'll greet us and just tell us who you are, and then Kaisha, you can take it back over from there.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I had to make sure I had pressed my unmute button. But I just want to thank you all this morning, this afternoon, for just pouring into us. I am an aspiring, I'm going to say I'm a writer. I'm a writer. And I really thank you all for your words that you all have poured into me. Some of the questions I had, you all have answered already. I feel that God has given me 2 books, and I just needed a place to get information, to know how to get started, to know what to do. And thank God, Dr. Thurston, he put together this master class, and you all had a yes in your spirit to pour into people like me that didn't know where to go and what to do. So some of the questions that I have may be elementary, but some of the things you have answered already. Like, what do you do, when you want to do a deep dive into research? If I have 2 books, one is a nonfiction and one is a fiction. And how do you gather data when you want to do research on certain topics? What do? You mentioned something, Miss Tiffany, about knowing your why. And I had a question about dry spells. What do you do when you get to the place where we're all busy and we're running and we feel like we're running on empty? And thank you for the information that you've given us on that. And if you wanted to expound a little more. And thirdly, being an independent author, and when it comes to independent publishing, Kaisa, did I say it right? Or close enough?
Kaisha,
Kaisha, thank you so much. Just as it relates to, okay, now we've put pen to paper, we've been inspired. What does the budget look like when we feel like God has given us a yes? I know God is going to provide, but I just want to have a realistic approach to what does that budget looks like. So I'll just be quiet and mute myself back out and to just listen to more of the information.
Well, I would say good afternoon to everyone. It's really been a pleasure and an honor just to sit and to listen to you ladies of experience and wisdom. Just share with us. It's really been amazing. The pearls of wisdom that you share has just been absolutely amazing, and I'm really just gleaning. I like what Dr. Carolyn said. I'm not going to call myself an aspiring author. I am an author. That's what I'll say. And I think one of the questions that I have is there is a burning in your belly, that word, that experience that you do want to share with other people. What my thought was to have more curiosity with people, to your audience. I know that realistically, my book probably will not come out until the end of this year, but I thought I wanted to post it and say, look for my book coming out 2023. That's what was in my spirit. But when I was talking to someone, they said, well, you don't want to do that because if you don't make your deadlines, then, but I thought that gives me accountability to push, to say, okay, your word is out there. You got to make your word good. And, like the devil comes. So, and if you don't make it by the end of December, the book is still coming out, So I just applaud you, Dr. Thurston, for this masterclass and just for bringing prospective authors. And I'm just really sitting and gleaming at you guys' feet and taking in your wisdom and just saying, Lord, and I love what someone said. I just took a lot of notes, but the thing that a lot of things struck me, but two of the things is it's beyond me. And then the other thing is you got to know your why. And there's a commercial that's on TV, and I don't know what they're advertising, but the main thing is know your why. And I think they're selling a car, but that's so profound. And my experience is the enemy wants to come and rob you of your why, because he brings so many things and so many distractions to get us off of the path of knowing our why and who we're sent to. And I think it was Kaisha, you said that, and also Tiffany, you might have said it too, is that, and I think you did, is that when we don't share our experiences and we don't write the book, we don't know the people that we're robbing because they need to hear our voice. And I thought that was so powerful. So I bless you, ladies, and thank you for your obedience.
Amen. All right. That's
Can I just jump in really, 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 really quickly? I know Leilani is waiting and I'm ready to hear her. It's just one thing that was said. You actually, Dr. Jonathan and Dr. Carolyn brought me
You
back.
can call me Jan. You can call me Jan.
Okay. Brought me back to the question, because I think most questions are layered. So the question about the pain, right? And this is also a tool for you as you write your books. The pain that I was in, or that pushed me to write the book, was that I'm a high functioning leader, and when I needed help, I couldn't find the help that I was able to give. I couldn't find the encouragement and the people to, like, when you're high functioning, you know a lot of stuff, you have a lot of tools, you've taken a lot of classes, you've gotten degrees, you've gotten titles. So it's a specific type of person who has to help you. And so the writing of the book was, I was writing to my old self, things that I went through, right? But also, as you write your book and you're telling your story, think about telling your story to the you that you were when you were in the story.
Good.
Speaking to the pain of that person. So when I wrote this book, even the texture of the book, I designed it so that when you touched it and you looked at the pages, you feel I'm speaking specifically to you, because I am. But it's literally, I put my heart into not just how I felt about the things, but how I wanted to address the people who were going through the things. So those are 2 tips in your pain space that will help you in your writing.
Awesome. I want to point out, I saw Dr. Thurston had put Tiffany's comments regarding the dry spell. And so I believe Tiffany said, and you can speak it, Tiffany, because I believe I saw rest. What else did you had? What were you speaking about that?
Rest and don't push it, right? The average book, like Kaisha will tell you, she's dealing with people who've taken 8 years to or more to get their books out. But the average book takes about 3 years to write. So literally, I started in 2017 and the book was not done until 2020. And it's okay. When we try to force ourselves, then oftentimes that stunts us. But take your inspirations as they come, and then rest. Nothing works well when you force it. Nothing works well when you try to, because then you're writing under anxiety, you're writing under pressure, you're writing with your mind cloudy. So just honor your feelings. And if you're frustrated, honor it. Honor everything that you feel, because you'll be frustrated. You'll be pissed off. You'll be angry. You'll be, you'll be all kind of things while you're writing this book, and it's okay. Just acknowledge it, feel it, and go, okay, Lord, now help me get through it.
Yeah, it does take patience and it does take time. We hear the great stories about how people wrote a book in a day. They wrote a book in a month, and there is that level of inspiration. I've edited normally what would take me, let's say 30 days or 90 days to edit a book. By God's inspiration, I have gone through a 250-page book in 3 days. I've edited it to the point where it was formatted, done, ready to publish and go. And that was not by me, because there's no way I could have did that. But it just, something comes over you, and that's the Spirit of God. And it's just like, here's the grace to get this done. I'm going to give you this go. And that's okay. You may have that. But like Tiffany said in her story, she didn't. And she was asking for it. God, I know you can give me this wind of inspiration and I would like it. And he said no. But he gave it to her. She has a fully written book that he downloaded to her. She wrote the book and she's sitting on it because he said it's not time yet. I wrote the vision, I made it plain, but there's a certain time when that thing is going to be done, and then you can run with it. So patience is everything. When Leilani is going to speak in just about 2 minutes, and time is required even in that. When we see people on social media, they come out of nowhere. They look like they've been super popular and have this influence for so long, but it takes time. And a lot of times we don't want to take the time. I'm guilty of that too. We get impatient, we get distracted, we get frustrated with unrealistic results. And so we then lose the momentum, but we can't afford to do that. So we're going to have to realize that time is on our side, but we have to be kind to time. We have to be patient. And so that's really, really important. Again, with your writing and with everything else you have to do, be patient. If you're getting nothing, then guess what? You got nothing. Go do something else until it comes to you. Don't force it. I do want to say, when you had spoken, Jan, and you were saying that, I believe it was, I'm sorry. Yes, it was that, you said, I'm going to get out there and be seen. I'm going to be visible. I'm going to put a goal date out there. And then you have someone who says, oh no, I wouldn't do that, because what if? Those people love you so much. The what ifers, they're only what ifing because they don't want to see you fail. They don't want you to feel like you're going to fail. That's their way of supporting you. How many of us have those? Well, be careful. I'm guilty. My husband hates that. I'm his biggest fan, rah, rah, rah. But then I'm the first one to be like, you sure you want to do that? Okay, let's talk about it. How should we go about this? Because I want to protect him. I want to protect time from being wasted. And that's how people are thinking for you and your projects. They're supporting you in the worst way possible. But it's the way, right? So take it with a grain of salt. The key word you said was in my spirit. I knew this is what I'm supposed to do. I want us from this day forward, that initial inspiration that you get, know it to be the whisper of God. We call it intuition. We call it so many things. Know it as it is the wind of God giving you a seed, and stick to it. I don't care what anybody says. If he said to announce this thing, that this book will be done in 30 days, and I haven't written my name, go with what he said. You don't know how he's moving and what he's going to do. Just be obedient. Immediate obedience is the word for this season. And don't question it. And if it doesn't pan out, it doesn't pan out. He could be testing your obedience. He could be testing you to do what he says to do. And yeah, you may not write another word until after that date. Are you so prideful to where you'll withhold it because your pride says, I don't want to look like a fool? He could be breaking that, because the people you're called to are those who have high pride, and their pride needs to be broken. Mm-hmm. So you don't know what's happening and you don't know what he's doing. Just be obedient, ride with what you know that's deep in your heart, and love those people, those what ifs and those I wouldn't do that. They love you. That's why they're not. And I've learned this over time. It's not that anyone, and not saying, Miss Jan, that anyone is any of those people are saying that for you, but for those of us who have thought that, they're not being negative. And those who we think are jealous, they're not even really being jealous. They're just, they just love you so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kaisha, can I say something about what you're speaking? Just real quick. I know I haven't been introed or anything, but I am just like blown away right now. And I don't want to lose that thought. And also my word for this year is obedient. And I feel like I should say something about this. So when you're going to someone you love and they love you so much and you're asking them for support in any way, shape, or form in your life, if they are feeling that you're unsure about yourself, they're not coming to you back with a lack of support. They're protecting you because they're sensing that you're unsure. You're not planted in your decision. You're not confident about it. And they can feel that whether you're saying that or not. For example, if you're saying, well, I kind of want to write this book and I feel like it's going to be good and I feel like it gets to get out there, then you're scaring that other person for playing a role in you not achieving something. It's not that they don't believe in you. They know that you're going to do it. They believe in you so much, but they know you're not going to do the thing unless you believe in you. So unless you are ready to take full ownership before you come to anyone that loves you about something, you want to assess where you're at inside yourself first. And then come to them with it about all the logistics and be direct. Say, I know some things might be coming up inside me, but I don't want you to get the impression that I don't believe in this. I'm just a little bit nervous because it's about to happen. It's about to happen. I'm about to do this and I need your support and I want your support. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know the whole path, but I know this is the road I'm supposed to be on. And any nerves you sense from me are only because, whoa, I'm about to do this thing. It's so big. I've never done it before. Then you're going to get matched with, honey, I got you. Let's go. Let's do the thing. All right. I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Perfect.
Could I just interject something? How do you pronounce your name?
Leilani.
That was so good about obedience. And I just want to share this past weekend, I went on the webinar and I was looking at the other webinars and it was so powerful. And then I compacted a booklet that I get all this information and whatever. So I was studying and I came across a thought. I said, wow, this is an amazing sermon. I need to look at this. So immediately the Holy Spirit says, start searching this out, start preparing the sermon. And I did. It says, but I'm preparing this sermon like I'm getting ready to preach and I don't have any meetings. No one's called me. So that was last Wednesday. So I was studying it from last Wednesday to about Friday, getting it together. Well, my son called me, who's my pastor, and he says, Mom, listen, Lexi's got a track meet. She's on a national track meet, and it's in Detroit, and I need you to preach Sunday. This is Friday. And I said, like I said, drop the mic. So I said, you're joking, right? He said, no, I'm serious. So immediately a calm came over me because he said something, obeying at the speed of obedience. And because I had obeyed the Lord, heard his voice, and started studying for that particular sermon, all I had to do was look over my notes, look over what I had, and ask God to breathe on it and bless it. But I thank him that he showed me just that little small act of obedience did not throw me into a tizzy where, oh my God, I got to stay up all night studying. I got to preach Sunday. It was a calm and it was a peace because I obeyed him. So I thank you for that. That obedience is so important.
Absolutely. I'm glad to hear that. I want to go ahead and let Leilani take it away. I mean, I can't introduce her better than what she can. There's a long list of what this woman is capable of, her capacity, her knowledge. I mean, I often tell my husband, if I had that go that she has, boy, I'd be somewhere. But it's not my personality. Although I'm very much invested this season to be in the training of such, and so we're going to get there and get to the place where I need to be, which is what she's going to talk to us about here. Because as I said, it makes no point of us doing all of this. And the few tips I'm going to give a little bit later before we close on some things you can be doing while you're in the writing stage and after you're published, what you should be doing to keep your book in front of people and what it is that you're writing. However, it starts with getting yourself out there. People need to know your name. They need to know your face. And so, Leilani, there's no better person than you who can speak to that. I know that for sure. And I'm just going to let you take it away. Please introduce yourself. She's many things, many great things, and I couldn't do it justice. So thank you, Leilani. Unmute.
Your mic is muted.
Awesome. Great beginning. I love it. You guys are going to find I'm a little goofy too, so this works. So it's nice to be here. I really appreciate you all having me today, and nice to really get to know a lot of you before I come and speak and share, because it's not just nice to get to know you guys, but also to hear like what is happening in your world of, you know, writing and just what experiences you've had. What I do as a visibility strategist is a lot different than coaching. Everyone's different. It's not cookie cutter. So me getting to hear a little bit about you all in advance makes it possible for me to talk about what really matters to all of you here today. So I'm excited to kind of reflect back on some things, the people who were all speaking before me. I took tons of notes, and I'm really excited and inspired. I just want to say, like, for example, when Tiffany, when you were talking about your book being your teacher, I've heard people speak to the process that they go through when they're writing books. And it's just incredible to really hear that through and get a better understanding and how people really get seen in telling these stories. And I want to talk a little bit about today, a little bit further down, about why those little snippets matter and how you can use them. But right now, I want to share with you guys a little bit about what holds us back from being seen. Because a lot of times we think that it's about, oh, I need to understand a platform like TikTok, or I need to understand LinkedIn, or I need to understand these platforms. But the information has been out there for quite a while. When I was able to get started, it was because I just went out there and kind of dove into the information. I didn't know another way. I had limited time as a single mom, and a computer was in my face. So on break at work, I would just go and find the information. But during the times where it wasn't that drastic, it was like, oh, excuses could come up from stopping me to go and take that next level of visibility. And so I find that a lot of times what is holding people back when they come to me for visibility is not the information they think they need. It's that there's something internal happening that's stopping them from getting that information and moving forth. So, for example, a lot of us think that what we have does not matter, or why does it matter? Again, what Tiffany was speaking a lot to, when we are coming from a space of why me, right? Why me? Why is my story going to impact someone else? How does it matter to someone else? What does it do for anybody else? And I'm just A, B, or C. Or maybe we're feeling insecure, or maybe we feel like, no, we're confident, but we don't have all the moving pieces and parts. So we shouldn't be confident because it has to look a certain way. And what I'm sharing with you is that we are never going to look a certain way. We're never going to look a certain way. And the people that need us don't need us to look a certain way. They just need to know that somebody understands us, and they just want to connect, and they just want to hear your story. Because as one of the women spoke to earlier about how she was a single mom and she didn't know, how this information was going to affect anyone. Well, I was a collaborator in a best-selling book years ago, and I only wrote 2 pages And I didn't feel like it was anything impactful in this book that I wrote. I flew out to this event to do the book signing, and I was just doing it to say I'm a best-selling author, right? Just to say these things. And I was doing the best I can during the time and the energy I had to do everything that the author required. It wasn't my own book. It was just 2 pages. And that's what I felt like. I didn't do what I thought was what I would have done if it was my own book, and in the way I would have done it, and how is this going to impact anyone. And one of the first women that came up to me when she was going down the line to get signatures from everybody at that signing, she was like, oh my God, like what you wrote made such a difference for me as a single mother. And I was blown away. And I told her, I said, wow, thank you for that. I needed to hear that, because I know there are many single mothers, and I felt like it wouldn't really make a difference. And that really means something to me. And so when we're thinking from the perspective of what's going on inside, and we start there, then we can start to acknowledge and see all these tools and things we have access to, and how we can utilize them to get our book out there and get seen by people. So one of the things are that you can begin to do first and foremost is start to think of yourself as a business owner. I know when authors come to me, they are always saying, I'm an author, I'm an author, I'm an author. Great, beautiful. But if you are an author, you are also a business owner. So I want you guys to write that down. If you have a pen and paper, if you don't have a pen and paper, you might want to grab one. The reason you are a business owner is because you have a book to sell. That's it. It's very simple. You did not write this book so no one could buy it. Otherwise, it can sit there without a cover on your nightstand in a drawer, right? Or you can share it with your family, and that's it for free. So the second you start to think of yourself as an author and a business owner, then you can begin to start acting as such. As a business owner, all of the same things come up in us. All of these fears and all of these things we get to conquer come up in us. As you start to understand that you are a business owner, then you're going to start to understand what tools and what places you can go to deal with those things that come up. Oh my goodness, now it's time for me to speak on stage to get out there on my book and get my book out there. I'm nervous. How do I deal with these fears that are coming up? Oh, there's a YouTube video for business owners that are going on stage, yada, yada, yada. We're thinking beyond the book itself, and that's how we can get people to read the book. And that's how we can reach people. Now, as a business owner, when you think of sales, or as an author or as an individual, when we think of sales, it typically freaks us out, most people, percentage-wise, right? And at the same time, if a transaction doesn't occur, then what happens is impact is not made. When a transaction doesn't occur, then impact, then change never happens. Like it all begins with a transaction. So when we understand that, when we're thinking about like, oh, I want someone to buy my book, and anything comes up about making an offer for someone to buy my book in any way, shape, or form that you're selling it, stuff's going to come up. And when you notice it coming up, then you can say, you know what? I want to make an impact. I want to help these people. I want to get this out there because this is my baby. This is something that I made and I put out there because I know it's here for an amazing purpose, and it's going to create change for those who lay eyes on it. So this gets to happen, and I'm excited for this to happen. I'm excited to impact them. Okay. So it's all about flipping the switch, but first being able to observe what's coming up inside of us. And that's how we can begin to get seen. We have to first begin with understanding ourselves and not allowing ourselves to get caught up in every single thing that comes up and allow the excuse to be a reality, because it's not a reality. We have to recognize what those excuses are that are really things that are holding us back. It's just like, oh, okay, well, I can't make that post, or I can't send that email about my book because I'm going to be bothering people. Okay, but how many times does Target or Walmart or Pizza Hut or Domino's email you every single day? all the time, like 3 times a day. And I went and bought a Little Caesars I wasn't supposed to buy last night, probably because all these darn emails. Okay. And I'm not writing them complaining, oh, you're bothering me. I'm buying from them. And they got my kid fed when I was busy. Okay. So this is the beginning of it all. And I promise you guys, I'm going to talk to you about all the logistics and the things, and you can ask me all the questions. Well, what about this? Put my book here, get on the stage, whatever. But it does not help anyone if we don't start here with telling ourselves the truth of why we're not already doing these things when we have artificial intelligence all over our computer now that tells us the answers on how to get things out, and people will always still need me because of these kinds of conversations that get to happen. Okay, so I wrote down a whole bunch of things, so I'm just going to reference it. So what is holding us back? And I put down, internal doubts, internal things, and then saying I'm an author and a business owner as the answer to a lot of the stuff that comes up. So then we think from the perspective of a business owner. Let's see here. Kaisha, you said something here that really, oh, yes. So Kaisha, you were speaking to not being that person anymore. So that's what I want to speak to really quickly with everyone. So when we are making that switch to up leveling, and this is an up level when we choose to be seen, that's when people come to me when they're in that transition to up level. And when we're making that decision to do that, we get to say goodbye to the person that we were. And we all kind of have a feeling and a knowingness of that, just that one sentence, like we get to say goodbye. Okay, we have to say goodbye or whatever. But a lot of times we don't acknowledge that person that we're saying goodbye to. And that's where we halt and we don't understand that's what's happening because we don't know. We're supposed to actually say thank you for getting me here. Spend some time. It's like when there's grieving involved in saying bye. You might need to say goodbye to some people in this process of getting visible. The goodbye might be not just a permanent goodbye. It might be like, okay, I'm compartmentalizing you here. I'm only going to see you once a year or once a month or talk to you this amount of times. Because again, this is all mindset stuff that's happening, and who you're around and in any capacity, whether it be a text message, a DM, whatever, helps feed into this stuff of you not getting out there and being successful in your goals. And this is a goal towards success, right? And so what we get to do is understand that every time, like for instance, if you have to say goodbye to a family member, like, okay, I'm not talking to, Uncle Joe or whatever, because Uncle Joe is always telling me, oh, you're going to talk about that book again on this. Like, I just want to see baby pictures or whatever, and you got to say, okay, well, I'm going to go and click the mute button or the restricted button. So that doesn't filter in, because it all filters in to what decisions we make. Don't question that. It's reality. It's fact. It all plays a part, right? And when we're already battling our own insecurities that will come up, then we want to make sure we do that. So we definitely want to, acknowledge the feelings that come up in this process, and don't shame yourself. Don't guilt yourself. Who we are right now before we get to the next place, we had to be to get to this place, right? So that's what I wanted to share about that. So what is getting seen about? What is getting seen about? And what does it mean? A lot of times when we think about being visible online, we think about, oh, I got to go on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram and all this stuff, right? And yes, it's a part of it. Absolutely. Why would we not, right? But what is it? So I want you first to write down that social media is communication. Social media equals communication. And the reason I start there is because we feel, and this may not be the same for everyone, but a lot of times when people come to me, it's very common that people feel like, oh my gosh, social media is so dreadful. Social media is like, there's this word or sentence or fear-based something that somebody has put in their brains to avoid it. So I want to do an immediate reframe for everyone that social media is communication. So nobody, whether we are great at communicating or not, is going to actively say, oh, I hate communication. No, you don't. Even if you say to me, I'm an introvert, you're never going to have the nerve or courage to say, I hate communication. So this is why I choose this reframe for people that I share this with. Social media equals communication. And it's not literally communication, but when we say it this way, it feels good. It is a form, a tool for communication. Okay, but I want you to say social media in your mind is communication instead of whatever you were calling it before, and that will help you get out there socially. Now, why is the bulk of what I talk about social media, even though I also talk about getting on the phone as a form of communicating and making an impact and getting booked on stages and selling your books and everything, whatever you're ending up selling as a business owner? It's because this is how you communicate on a massive scale. This is how, Dr. Thurston was able to click some buttons and get all these people involved, right? Which we never used to be able to do, 10, 20 years ago. Okay. So why would we not communicate on that level? Why would we not take advantage of something so powerful and so beautiful, right? So that reframe is going to be really helpful for you to understand, wow, this is a great way for me to really share about my book to more than just, my neighbor or the person, or even if I were to set up at the bookstore, if they offered me, and I arranged for a book signing, I'm still going to get more books sold and signed potentially by going online somewhere. So why would I not communicate and figure out, how to get past the things that come up and understand all of that, right? So the next thing I want to share is it's about connecting deeply. Connecting deeply. Communication is about connecting. The way you want to communicate, you want to connect. Okay. And why do we want to connect? People crave connection. Like Tiffany, when you were sharing about, how you didn't know and what you had to get past, or where you got to get past was maybe your story didn't relate to other people because you didn't have that strife story, right? That typical, oh my gosh, I was this or that story. And it reminded me of how I felt when I wrote in the book and those pages about being a single mom. I was like, oh, there's all these single moms out there. And it also reminded me of how many other people had that held back story. So how many people did she impact with that story of this held me back? And they're like, well, me too. I wasn't homeless. Now I can write a book. I wasn't this. Now I can write a book. But what if she didn't talk about that? Then nobody knew that, right? But now she was able to connect those dots for someone who is just like her in that way. And now they're not stuck. They're in motion, telling their story. So you are, by getting seen, you are letting other people see that they can do it too. And so when we can come out of this mindset of us holding us back and making it about us so much that we withhold what we have to change and shift for other people, then those shifts and changes can happen to other people, all in us imperfectly showing up. Another thing that it takes to get seen and to connect deeply is a level of vulnerability. Now, these levels they increase. You don't just jump out there and go full throttle with vulnerability. You get more and more brave and bold as you go. And I call it like exercising your muscles, like exercising your vulnerability muscles. Like you get stronger and stronger to where you can do more and more. I still get nervous every time I am public, and I'm public multiple times a day in different ways. And I still get nervous, but I get tools and I have things that I do, and those muscles increase every single time. And it's about delivering that value so people get to see me, who I am, in all of those ways in order to do that. Now, what is vulnerability really? Because a lot of times that word's being used a lot right now, and we think of it as maybe we make a video and we're crying and we're telling these dark things that happen in our life, or these amazing stories, or we're laughing. A lot of times we think vulnerability is some emotion on display that's over the top. and we're not being vulnerable unless we're like going full throttle into some display of emotion and just, I don't know, just the ridiculousness on camera. And vulnerability is not that. Vulnerability is showing up as who we are in any given moment. It's just showing up. All of you are vulnerably showing up in some way, shape, or form right now because you're on camera. It's just showing up. Now, how many times have you thought about just showing up? And this is gonna make it make sense right now. How many times have you thought about just showing up and stopped yourself? All the time, right? So it must be vulnerable if you didn't just pop on a camera and just show up or type whatever you want to type. Something made you stop and overthink whatever it was you were going to say. But if it was a neighbor that came to your door, or a family member in your house, or someone in your physical presence, like normal day-to-day stuff, you just have a conversation with them and go about whatever needed to be talked about. But we put all of this, like you have to be this way or that way, because we're looking outside of ourselves at all these other people. Excuse me, I'm getting over being sick. We're looking outside of ourselves and at all these other people doing the things they're doing online in their own way. And we are impressed, or we feel some type of way. So we think that we need to be that. And when I work with my clients, the first thing I make clear to them is, hey, like this is not cookie cutter, because it's about you, and you're not cookie cutter. You are layered. You are a layered human being. And what we do is they're like, should I do this? Should I do that? And I'm like, you should do you. You should do you, because there's only one you. How do I brand? You brand yourself by being the youest you can be. That's how you brand yourself, because nobody can duplicate that. But we're over here trying to duplicate what all these people are doing. And that's why we're not vulnerable. Okay, like we would tell, like my parents and we tell toddlers and stuff when they go to school, like, oh, these don't, if the kids laugh at you, that's okay. Like they just, everyone's insecure at that age, this and that, whatever. Like, don't take them seriously. You're perfect as you are. Well, when did we stop telling ourselves like what we tell these kids? Why can't we tell ourselves that? You don't need to be like we tell our kids, like they don't need to be like these other kids, but we don't need to be like these other adults. We're not supposed to be. We're not supposed to be. So let's see, Tiffany, you mentioned most questions are layered. That's when you pop back on. You were like, I'm sorry, I got to say this. And I was like, yes, I'm so glad she said this, because you said most questions are layered. And that's because we are layered. We are layered. And if you understand that being vulnerable is showing all your layers. This morning, I was grumpy. I am not grumpy right now, but I have a grumpy side. That is a part of me, right? I don't like mornings. All right. Now, there's another side to me that's playful, and I like post memes all day and crack jokes. I'm not cracking jokes right now. I mean, I'm maybe a little playful, but I'm not sitting here telling all kinds of jokes. But on my social media, you will see all kinds of sides to me, because if I feel there's some side to me that's valuable to someone, then I'm going to share it. So that's vulnerability. We get to show our layers. Okay, we get to show our layers. All right, so before I go into the topics on like different platforms and ways, now that I feel really confident that you guys are really understanding some of the aspects of what goes on inside. I mean, how do you guys feel? Is there like a Dr. Thurston, do you want to ask and see if there's any questions and gauge how everyone's feeling about that aspect?
Sure. If there are questions, go ahead and I'll change the screen so everyone could engage. I think, I want to say this. You were when you got to talking about social media, I started laughing. I wrote a book, and it wasn't until I met Kaisha that I was inspired to go ahead and put it on Amazon, because I didn't, and I'm sure you're going to get into that. I thought it would take rocket scientist type of knowledge and experience to do it. And so I just, to be honest, it was like I procrastinated. I stayed away from it because I was afraid, right? And the Bible says God didn't give us a spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. But I was afraid. And so that evening when she said, just send it to me, it's like, stop belly aching and crying. Send me your book. And I'm thinking, okay, something's getting ready to happen. I don't know what. And it happened. And then I was left with the responsibility of going back and doing a little bit myself. So I like what you guys are saying. You know, be responsible for your work. Don't procrastinate. Immediate obedience. You know, obedience is better than sacrifice. I tell people delayed obedience is disobedience. So being obedient to the assignment. I say all that to say this. I'm intentionally trying to be quiet today, to give you guys space. But I'm going to share a quick video, and it's kind of it turned into a spoof, but it got a lot of traffic. And the reason I'm going to share it is because oftentimes we think, oh, it's hard. How do I get my information out? Sometimes it's just a matter of investing enough time in ourselves to play with some of that artificial intelligence and trying it out. And here's what I came up with. I'll play it and then I'll come right back. Hey everybody, it's your boy Dr. Thurston Willoughby, and I am so pumped tonight. 1 o'clock in the morning. Yes, I am pumped. I started this challenge earlier this evening to sell 1,000 copies of my award-winning book, Choices. You can go out on Amazon and purchase your copy, and it doesn't matter if you get the $12.95 paper cup soft cover copy like this here, or if you get the ebook for $5.55. Just come back on social media and show proof that you got yours. Just bring it back on social media and say, hey, I have mine. You can also order it using Cash App. You can order it direct from me, a signed copy for $15. That's right. Go to Cash App, $Dr. Willoughby, if you want to get it that way. Every 50 copies sold, you are entered to win a cash prize of $55. Come on, y'all, help me do this. 1,000 books within the next 30 days. Would you help me do it? Thank you in advance for sharing. Thank you in advance for liking. We're going to do it. Let's get it. So, of course, I was 1 o'clock in the morning. I was pumped. I was excited. I'm showing that because I released another video this morning to follow it up. The Lord spoke to me, and I was, kind of asking God, what do I do? What am I, my purpose, this, that, and the other. He said one thing to me. He says, what's in your hand? What do you have in your hand? Many of us have the gift in our hand, or we have accessibility to it. And because of procrastination, we never fulfill the purpose. And Kaisha said this, and I don't know, Kaisha, if it was offline, but there's a lot of people who, if we were to go to the grave and if God gave us the ability to see all the many gifts and all the value that's in the graveyard, we would see so many witty ideals and concepts and unpublished books because we waited. So my advice or encouragement is, again, kind of dittoing what's been said already. Just do it. Just like Nike, do it. And as long as we stay humble, as Kaisha was saying, everyone's been saying that same thread. If you stay humble, God will get the glory, and he will promote your work. If our motives are right, he'll promote it. So I shared that video just to show anybody that's watching today, you see that you're interested in doing it. I commit myself to giving back. The best way to keep anything or grow it is to give it away. Dr. Allen and I talked last evening, and we were just saying how, you help one another. So if there's anybody watching, well, I know there's people watching, and you're interested in just that little bit, reach out on Facebook, TikTok, wherever you see it, reach out, and I'm more than willing to help. Thank you guys so much. Mic open. So go ahead and share, guys.
Well, so I'll be more, and I love that you played that, by the way. That was awesome. So I have a question for anyone watching. I don't know if you're communicating with everyone in the audience, if they have questions, and then all of you here, but how is this landing with the internal stuff? Have any of you had some of this stuff come up that you recognize? Because I don't want to like skim over this part before I go into all the different platforms and different ways that you can market. But the stuff that holds us back, have you found anything holding you back, or does any of this resonate with you?
So I'll start even for myself. Leilani, I love everything that you shared. And I need you all to know this woman here. Not only has she helps individuals, brand owners and business owners and entrepreneurs, she has helped multi-million-dollar companies. And so she's talking good because we all are humans first, regardless of the business, regardless of the dollar amount that's being earned, we're humans first. And so one of the things that you titled it, which was like, wait a minute, the up leveling. And saying goodbye to who you were. Oh my goodness, you got me real good right here. And let me say why. Grief hurts. And you really got me because, you know, I was thinking and I was like, oh yeah, I'm leaving her behind. That pain point. And you know what? I realize a lot of people are not moving forward because they feel like there's no closure, even within themselves. And they feel like, oh my goodness, if I grow, if I get past this threshold, this impasse of life, I feel like I'm trading. I feel like I'm leaving. You feel like you are, I don't know the right word, not forfeiting.
Your identity.
Say it again.
Your identity. You're shifting identities, maybe.
Right. And then you feel guilty. You do feel guilty for saying, wow, I've been through so much, and to just leave all that behind. But yeah, because the thing is, the who you are becoming is really the reward for that person that was hurt in the past. I really believe, and God will give me greater understanding of this later, but us saying goodbye to who we were. We've been so attached and we've been so coddling and protecting that person. We feel like we're not going to be there to nurture who that is. We literally have a split identity and a double-mindedness about ourselves that we're not seeing ourselves whole. So we've got to come to a place of wholeness as you're stepping into this true identity of who you're called to be. That was everything. I wrote a whole thing here regarding that. That was everything. And so I can't get into all of it. We don't have that kind of time, but that was wonderful. Saying goodbye. You know, Tiffany does one thing. Tiffany allows you to understand whose voice are you hearing? That's not your voice. That's not how you talk to yourself. And a lot of your decisions are made off of the wrong voice. You need to start hearing yourself and hearing the direction that you're supposed to take and go forward. But then you speaking to, I got to say goodbye to all that stuff. I got to say goodbye to the people, the voices, the this and the that, and make it so realistic to, this is a burial to some old things. It's so necessary. Anyways, I don't want to take up that much time regarding that, but that got me so good. And I just can't stress it enough. And then also your excuses are not your reality. I mean, they're not. And we really have to get over that threshold of no more excuses. Not just immediately pull it down, because it's not real. And I love the concept of being being vulnerable. If you're truly being vulnerable, then you would just show up, because that's the biggest vulnerability, is just saying, hey, here I am. I'm not hiding today. So that's great. I loved every bit of it. And if anyone has anything else, feel free, but otherwise, great.
Yeah, thank you, Kaisha. The real quick too, I want to speak to that, and then I think someone else, I don't see her name on there, but I know I would love to hear what she was about to say as well. Yes, author Tanisha, awesome. So when you are shifting identities, when you're doing an identity shift, while you're saying goodbye, you are also worried about, do I lose like the benefits that came with it too, the things that I don't want to say goodbye to, and what does all of this look like? We don't know, right? Like for me, I am trying to release weight right now, for example, right? And that is part of me being strong and part of my personality and people seeing me a certain way. What does it look like if I show up slender now? Like, how do people see me, treat me, and talk to me? They didn't, they are no longer going to immediately talk to me in that way. What does that look like? Right. And that's scary. Like, do I lose the benefits of how I feel? And it's just perception. Oh, they take me more seriously. They don't look at this or that. Like, all these weird things that I've created that I can still have in a rightful way, but I'm scared. Like, what does that look like when I shift? So that's all tied into all of that. That's happening, and it's happening with everyone that comes to me. and I know it because it happens within me. It happens within all of us. But we get to nurture that side as we go through the process, and give him or her a hug in gratitude and love as we move through it.
Hi, I just want a couple of things that I was just listening. Just great information today from Tiffany and from you, Leilani, helping me with my next book. I thought, I had it all together, but one of the things, me too, was saying goodbye to that old person. I think that's where I'm at. I always say I don't want to forget where I came from, which I can say goodbye to that person, but I can still relate to people that have been that person, if that makes sense. Because I think that's where I'm at, but also tying into what you said, be you, be real. Nobody can be you. And I think that's where we all get stuck sometimes. We see everybody else. It's like, I want to be that person, or I want to be a Joyce Myers, but being me and being real would help people more than me trying to imitate somebody else. So that was really good. I just put a huge circle around that, because I have to realize I have to be me. Nobody can be me. Nobody knows me but me and God. So thank you.
That's beautiful. Tiffany's raising her hand.
There was a part, I can't remember exactly which part it was, because I'm literally in the moment person. I'll forget what was said 2 seconds before, right? But what it pulled up when you were talking, the part about when you were saying what holds us back, right? And I want to speak to the doers in the group, right? I am a doer, right? Let's get it done. Let's get it done. And in the process of writing my book, I had to realize that I wasn't honoring what had actually happened, what I had actually done. And I was pretty much like, what's next, boss? And sometimes when our mindset is focused, especially as kingdom believers, as assigned and appointed people, we get so busy doing the things that we believe God is telling us to do that we forget He's like, I'm teaching you, I'm training you, I'm building your character, I'm honing you, I'm loving you, I'm showing you what you have inside of you, but we'll miss it because we're so busy in the, I got it done, what's next? And so in my process, a friend of mine had to come, and she came and she showed up with flowers and took me to lunch and was like, girl, you wrote a book. And I was like, oh, I did, right? And so, and because I've had that grace working with the leaders that I work with who write books, that's one of the things that God has graced me in, is helping them actually connect to their work. Because so many of us have done it, and it's like, okay, here it is, and we stick it on the shelf because we did it, but we're not connected to the fact of why we did it, and we birthed something out of our essence and our being. So yeah, that's a holdback. That's just what.
Love it. Love it. Okay, awesome. So if anyone has any questions, I now have the comment section showing up. I had it on private chat by accident, so I can see that as well. But if you want to pull my attention to anything while I'm sharing on the platforms, please do, everyone. So I am going to dive into different ways that are beneficial for you to get seen. So I first want to start off with, and if you want to write this down, repurposing is your friend. Repurposing is your friend. Get comfortable, get excited about repurposing. Why do we care about this word? What does it mean about taking one piece of content and turning it into all these other different things? Well, it matters because we are not always going to be in a mood to show up in all the different ways and all of the different things that we can do with our content. And so if we take something and maximize it and spread it out in different ways, then that's going to help us be visible as like almost all the time, really, once you get everything down pat and in alignment, like throughout time, you can find ways to always have content out there on a daily basis with ease. And it's not going to happen instantly, but it is going to happen faster if you're not just putting one thing up and then leaving it as one thing on one platform. So let me give you an example of that. So let's take all of you who've written a book. I don't know if everyone on here is an author, but it seems like, you know, everyone is an author or is going to be. So let's use the book as an example. So you have a book already that you've created with all these words in it. Let's just say even it's a 50-page book. Okay. Some of you may have 250 pages. Some may have 50. Let's say it's a smaller book, 50 pages. In those 50 pages, how many tweets can you pull from that book? A tweet itself is like, I don't know, 1 to 2 sentences. And there's authors all over Twitter. And nobody's going to sit there and not buy your book because they can put all these tweets together and create your book. I'd be like, I can save $5.55 if I just take all her tweets this year. Like, nobody's mind goes there. So just tweet your book. If you don't know what to do, what to say, you've already said it, right? That's a form of repurposing. Okay. Now there are softwares where you can take these tweets in one day and you can plug them all in 1 to 2 months in advance, and it goes to Twitter for you. And now you're not even on Twitter, although I do advise that you get on Twitter to engage with the people talking to you, which we'll get into that. But you're not even on there sitting there, you know, oh, I got to wake up. I got to figure out what to post. Oh my goodness. Like, I don't want to deal with this right now. I don't feel good, or I'm having a crisis, or whatever's happening in your real life. Your tweets are still going out. You're visible. You're getting seen. You're putting the link to your book. You're linking everything. There's something I call the Leilani loop. And the Leilani loop is like getting people trapped in a casino of you. So like the Tanisha loop would be like, oh, Tanisha's got us looking at her YouTube and she's got us reading her book. And in front of her book and in back of her book, there's a section where it has her social media handle and to follow her on Instagram. Let me look at her Instagram. Oh, her Instagram bio says, let's go here into her funnel. Oh, her funnel takes me to an email. And in the email is telling me, click this video. And then all of a sudden it's been 2 hours of Tanisha and they're like, oh, whoa, I got to buy her book. I got to, heck, the book's not enough. I got to, what else is she selling? Because they know you. And in sales, it used to take, back in the day before we were inundated with marketing and billboards and online marketing and promotions and elevators. Now you jump in an elevator, there's a TV selling you something now. It used to be where it was 5 to 13 exposures would create a sale. And now we're over here letting our minds think, oh, we don't want to bother people. And it requires like 100 exposures now to make a sale. And y'all are thinking your book is failing because you don't want to make 2 exposures because you think you're bothering someone and they can't even see you even if you did 2 exposures. So this is, again, why repurposing is our friend and why you're never bothering people. Okay? So what are some other ways we can repurpose? Well, we can take even the video content we have here. If Thurston's like, you know what, y'all participated in this, you can use the video. Even if he's like, well, I can't send it to you, there's tools to pull it off of platforms. You know, even if, you are a guest here and you said one thing, you could maybe pull something from that, pull the audio of you saying, you're like, oh, I said a really smart question or a really smart thing, then turn it into a tweet. If you just trick your mind into always thinking about everything is content, because content is communication. I communicated today. How can I send that information somewhere else? What is some other place that I can reach people with what I've already said? How many of us have so much content that we've already done that's there in our Google Drive, in our cell phone, in our computers, in our YouTubes, in our books, in our wherever, in our friend's phone, our spouse's phone? We have content already, enough for probably an entire year somewhere. And if you get creative, you can just sit there and place it everywhere. Okay. So again, I can't stress this enough, repurposing is your friend. Video, you can turn into audio alone. Audio, you can transcribe it. Video, you can transcribe it. So if you don't feel like any way you're being held back in any area, for example, say you're like, I'm nervous about getting on camera, but I can talk. Okay, LinkedIn audio or Clubhouse or podcasting. Or we can go and overlay our voice onto something on an Instagram post or a story. We can overlay our voice onto something because we're okay with audio. Oh, I'm not okay with talking today, or my voice is gone, or like that scares me to do audio. Okay, well, we can do a post. Oh, well, a post is making me nervous, but I feel like I feel like I can be a little creative today. Okay, well, we can go and put up our cell phone for 15 seconds and go in our backyard and put the video of the trees swaying or a dog playing or whatever, or our spouse walking away with the child and it looks cute or whatever, and then you say something inspirational that you could have grabbed from your book, and then you pop it up there. That was 2 minutes of your time, and then your link's attached. Buy my book. I can go on for days and days and days of all the different ways you can get content. And I started off with stuff that now you realize why you haven't been doing it first. Because you're listening to me right now going, oh yeah, that's simple. Oh yeah, I can do that. Oh wow, yeah, I didn't know. Well, it is kind of, I just take a video. It doesn't even have to be me on camera. It's someone else. It's just, I don't need to worry about what to say because I already said this or that here. Yes, because you were held back because of the internal stuff. And again, this is what I do when we work together. And I will share with you, if you're interested in working together, which I'd love to work with anybody, we'll share that at the end. And if anyone's hopping in or off, I'm sure they can reference the links later. I want to dive into next about all the different platforms. Just a little smidgen of every little platform. I know that we probably don't have time to go in depth about all of them. And also, it's not important for you guys to be overwhelmed with information today. What's really important for me to help you guys with today is the internal stuff again, because now you're going to get in motion when you haven't been. And that excites me. That excites me. So, okay. So there are, and just write these down and create little buckets on your notes so you can scribble whatever underneath each of them that you feel called to scribble down. Write down YouTube, like YouTube or YT, write down TikTok, write down LinkedIn, write down Facebook. I'm going to pause for a second before I go to the next so you have time for those. And someone give me a thumbs up when you've gotten those written down. Okay, write down Instagram. Write down Pinterest. Twitter. Clubhouse. And then write down emails and stages. Okay, and if anyone who is watching wants to put in the comments what platforms matter to you the most, including the speakers and the guests on with us today, if you want to put down what platforms you are most interested in out of the ones that I shared, even if it's email, speaking on stages, all of this, pick 1 to 3 of them, and then just put it in the comments, because that's where I'm going to start. As soon as I see someone ask and put in the comments first, then I'll just get going and go from there. Or if someone just wants to say it out loud.
Let's start with LinkedIn. I want to focus on all of it, a great run through, but I really believe LinkedIn is a place that we need to consider, because I can guarantee you we haven't We don't see ourselves as business people. And you have made it clear, something we know to be true. We're business owners. So I'd like them to get an understanding that this is true.
All right, great. Thank you for that. And then Tiffany put in the comments, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, very helpful. Thank you both. Okay, so let's start with LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. So with LinkedIn, I don't know if any of you guys know this already, but I started a LinkedIn audio event series, and I also coach people on LinkedIn, and I have many connections on LinkedIn, and I'm steadily growing from there. And I've also grown other influencers on LinkedIn. And so LinkedIn is a specialty of mine. LinkedIn is a place where people have the highest income bracket. They are ready to buy if you fill a gap and answer a need for them. And it is not stuffy and hard and all the things like, people who have been resistant can share on other platforms. What it is people on LinkedIn don't play about their value. If you can't just be posting your dinner on LinkedIn, they want value. You can be you on LinkedIn, but you have to be able to get across value in what you're sharing. And so what is very important to know is that LinkedIn is part of the search engine. It is like your online resume or portfolio. No matter how much you're on LinkedIn, no matter when you want to learn LinkedIn, you get to have a fabulous bio on LinkedIn so people can find you. So that's how you show up on Google. You get to have your book talked about on LinkedIn in your bio. You get to have a link for people to buy it in your bio. You get to have a proper cover. You get to have a proper cover story. You get to have your name pronounced properly, but also that's commercial real estate that you can take up there. So you can start with a little bit more about you and then say your name at the end. That's extra real estate they've given you. So there's so much about the LinkedIn bio that alone can get you clients and buyers and all these things, even if you're not on there all the time, because people are looking, and write this down, LinkedIn, how you are on LinkedIn is your credibility. You don't have to have 1 million followers. Okay. So the reason why I am all in like I am in that way is because I have clients that I help there. And so I know all these things about all these platforms. It doesn't mean in order to get sales or traction, you have to be like me. Again, we are approaching everything from a you perspective, how to be the youest you, right? How to be the youest you. Well, you can get booked on stages by almost never being on LinkedIn, but having a quality bio and being communicative when people communicate with you on there and posting once in a while. As long as you're very clear about how you serve, people will go and see that bio. It'll show up on Google, all that. Okay. One of the biggest things why I started the LinkedIn audio event series, it is called Get Seen. You're going to see me branded everywhere with Get Seen. Get Seen is my newsletter on LinkedIn, which y'all would really benefit from having a LinkedIn newsletter as well. And you don't have to worry about putting too much on your plate. You can choose how often your newsletter comes out. Mine is bi-weekly. You can do one bi-monthly if you want. But if you have a newsletter, you're going to grow subscribers. And that's just another way that you can sell your book, through that newsletter. Okay? You can write that newsletter with artificial intelligence and fine tune it for it to have your own voice and what you would actually say. And that can take you maybe 30 minutes to do once every month or 2 months. LinkedIn is your friend. As an author, LinkedIn is your friend. Go follow me on there and you will see like LinkedIn is your friend. LinkedIn audio is your friend as an author. I actually have an event next Thursday that is get published and get seen. Interestingly enough, I was obedient to, Kaisha asking me to be here just 2 days ago. I was like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm going to show up. You got a bunch of amazing authors you're going to put me in front of. Sure. Next week, I actually have an event. You know what I mean? And so it's just very much like just taking that step and not worrying about like, oh, okay, well, that doesn't make sense to me. Just say yes. I'm here telling you it's good for you to be on LinkedIn. Just say yes, go on LinkedIn. Right? Now, the audio of it. Yeah, go ahead, Kaisha.
I don't want to interrupt your thought. Hold a pin on that. But I want to interject this because what's coming to me is to really give a frame of mind here, why this is so important, everything that you're saying. With all of the authors that I work with, one of the questions, whether they say it or not, I can tell by the questions they're probing. The question is where should I put this book? They're just so happy to get it out there, and online is the best thing. Amazon is the biggest online retailer. They sell the most ebooks out of any company on this earth. And so that is where my goal is to do things easy and simple. But one of the questions that people are always saying is, how do I get my book in Walmart? How do I get my book in Barnes and Noble? How do I get my book here? I want to put my book over here. Here's the reality. Where is your audience? Because I'm not going to Walmart in Detroit to go buy your book, because that's the only place it's going to be, because that's where you live. And so you're missing out on all of the people around the world who can get contact and who can access you. So the value of what it is that we're learning at this moment regarding these social media platforms, these are the new stores. These are the new places. So it's like, I'm going to do a book signing in Barnes and Nobles, but it's in your town. I'm not going there. I'd love to go there and support you. I'm not, though. And so if you tell me, hey, I have a book, I'm going to be nosy. I'm going to go on Amazon. I'm going to go look and see your book. I may be moved to buy your book. But if you tell me your book is on Lulu, I'm not going to lulu.com. I bought a wrong book before from lulu.com, and it didn't serve me a purpose. And I never got the person's book because I never saw them again, and I don't remember their name, unfortunately. So all of the things that we're learning are what's happening right now as far as, again, communication, branching with people, being seen, being visible, finding and understanding your influence. It has everything to do with getting whatever God gave you out to the right people, to who's supposed to see you, to get the book, because it's more than a book. You have no idea what it's going to turn into, but you've got to be ready. Just like it was stated earlier with Miss Carter, she said, I had to be ready. I don't know what I was being ready for. And her son asked her to cover him and preach on Sunday. Leilani had no idea what event was coming up and what I was going to ask her to do. But guess what God did? Divine connection, divine order, because something's coming up that will benefit us. Same thing with Tiffany. Same thing with all of us. The acting in the moment and doing it is going to help whoever's supposed to see you get to you. But we've got to now evolve in our mind state of, how do I get my book out there? Because it's glorious to want to have our books in stores. And I'm not saying not to do that. I'm not saying that's not the way to go about it, but we're trying to reach people. A lot of us, this is our assignment for a season. And she's giving a really great strategy and tips that, trust me, that wouldn't be given to us for free. Leilani, I'm so grateful for what you're pouring. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But I want us to see it. Transition and elevate our minds from, okay, I got to get this book in these stores. No, you got to get your book where it's already where you are, because people are going to want to know you. They're not going to go to Walmart. They're going to get in Walmart, spend all their money, and forget to go to the book section, the tiny book section, to see was your book in there. They're not going to do that. Okay, I'm done. Go ahead, Leilani. Thank you.
No, that's beautiful. And I'm really glad you shared that, because a lot of times we're thinking from the perspective that has nothing to do with selling our book. It's about giving us some sort of feeling that we need. Like, oh, I need to feel important because I don't know that I am right now. Like, let's be real about it. Like, why do we need to be in Walmart? Like, that's great if we are. But I was able to help make that book that I wrote 2 pages in it. It wasn't my book per se. I mean, I'm still technically an Amazon bestseller, right? But I didn't spend all that time he spent writing a few hundred pages. And I just wrote what he asked me to do. I followed an outline and got my pages in there so I could have a title, right? But at the same time, when he said, I need this to be a bestseller and I need everyone to do this and that, and there were all these other people not doing it, and like 3 days beforehand, I was prepping my marketing, letting people know to get the pre-sales, doing all these things. And I was using the channels I'm sharing with you guys right now. And this was like 8 years ago, before I knew even what I know now. I was using Facebook to blow this book up and create an Amazon bestseller, to the point the main author was like, what are you doing? Oh my God, you're amazing. Thank you. And we are now we were a bestseller like immediately, because I'm on there making sure people were buying the book through Facebook and phone calls, y'all. I had mass texts going out that were scheduled on my phone to go out, because this is visibility. Visibility is not, oh, I did this or that the way someone else is doing it. I used to run call centers for years. A lot of people don't know this. I used to run call centers and door knocking crews. So you give me a way to reach a person, that's all I need. So I have a Samsung. I don't have an iPhone. Why do I have a Samsung? Because I can actually, because I'm a business owner, and as a business owner and a content creator, they have the best quality camera, and they give me the capability to send scheduled texts. So I scheduled mass text to so many people. I need you to, in a clear direction, I need you to buy my book, and I need you to do it at this time. Can you do it? I got them into a commitment to do it. And then I scheduled a follow-up text. And I wasn't sitting there on the day of going, ah! My phone just sent it out to hundreds of people. My Facebook, then I was on Facebook putting up the post. I changed my profile to say, I am woman enough on the banner and buy my book. I went all in, like, look, I'm a single mom and this would change my life, y'all. You know, like I was giving it everything. And it worked. And he was like, what did you do? And I'm not saying I'm the one that did that, but he raced to tell me that I was making a huge difference and creating that buzz around the book. So when you think that it's like, oh, maybe I needed to be New York Times, maybe I need this or that, maybe I need all these things, and you have it in your mind, when you have access to free ways right now that guarantee it. I'll give you guys another example. I always wanted to be famous ever since I was a little girl. Always wanted to be famous, right? My father's an actor. My mother's an actor. My grandfather was an actor. People are producers in my family, and they all did like little different things here and there. But I didn't want to go to auditions. And I was like, I'm going to make myself famous. I'm going to get seen with myself when social media and stuff started to come out. So this is what I've been doing. I put myself out there. I don't need someone else to tell me I'm special. I have something to say, and here's some free way to say it where I can still be me without selling my soul in any kind of way. I can be me without restriction, right? And that's what I've been doing. So that's what I'm sharing with you guys. These are ways that you can sell like crazy and get on stages. So let me go back into that. So LinkedIn audio events, you can go and open up and hold your own room open. So for example, my LinkedIn audio events, I have a masterclass coming up. If you want to type in LinkedInaudioevents.com, it's on March 14th, 9 a.m. PST, 12 EST, and it's LinkedInaudioevents.com. It's only $47. And those audio events that I do three weeks out of the month, I put incredible speakers on. I market the events upcoming, and every week it grows in size because we have people coming on regularly in the audience. To learn information. Yep, go ahead.
Can you repeat that? You said LinkedIn audio events, and what was the dates again?
LinkedInaudioevents.com is the website to the funnel. And then the date is March 14th at 9 a.m. EST and or noon EST. And I just found out today, Dr. Thurston, I think you're in the same area where I live. Do you live in Grand Rapids?
Middleville.
Okay, I don't know where Middleville is. I've been living in Michigan for about a year and a half now, in Kalamazoo.
Yep, I'm not far from you at all.
Awesome. So we'll have to connect at some point.
I don't know what I just did here. You said March 14th.
March 14th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
the dates are on that website too. If you want to go there and look, you guys can. Okay. As well, because I might be mixing it up, but I don't think I am. But I think I'm 99% sure I scheduled it for March 14th at 9 a.m. I'll type it in here, LinkedIn. And then also the people in my group get to attend for free. So I have a Get Seen membership. That's $50 a month, where I teach these things that we're going over now, and you have access to me there. So there's the link for that. And then Get Seen membership.
Awesome. There we go.
There you go. Yeah. So if you do, the reason why I say Get Seen membership along with it is because if you're thinking about learning from me in any capacity, through this group is a great place to start. It's only $50 a month or $500 for the whole year. And then you don't pay for that masterclass. You get to attend any of my masterclasses for free after that if you're part of the group. Okay, so going back into the audio events, you're going to grow in followership. You're going to likely sell books. You are going to have people drop in your direct messages right after the event. And then if you have your event during the daytime and you didn't market at all, people will pop on, and you can create stages where you have anywhere from 20 to 100 people out of nowhere in your audience that are qualified, that have already been following you on LinkedIn. So this is why I say this is incredible. Like, you're creating stages just like Clubhouse when it first came out, except the way this is even more exciting is that this is people already looking to do business. They've already been on there with you, even if they're just a connection through your bio. So that's a huge, huge new thing that LinkedIn's just added. I don't know how much time I have. I don't want to like not cover YouTube or Facebook, but I don't want to go over on time. So I wanted to check in with you real quick.
So we're at 2:30, I would say, and it was initially a 2-hour webinar, but since this is the last day, I think if we wrap it up by 3, it won't be so overwhelming. And then folks, again, those that are watching are more than welcome to come back and watch it on demand. We'll share that information at the end of the session as well.
Thank you so much. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just say one thing about each platform, why it matters, and then I'll open the floor for questions so that everyone has a chance to ask what they want to ask. So, okay, so YouTube is great if you approach it with the strategy of long form and short form content combination. Long form is a longer video where you're talking about whatever you want to talk about. However amount of time you think is appropriate for it to get the whole, coaching or training that you want to get across. And then short form will grow your channel steadily and increase the following faster. So you can pull short form and create short form from stuff you already have. Or you can create new short form, and short form video is great to repurpose when you create something for one platform to just put across all the platforms. If you do it enough, you'll also start generating income from all of that. Me personally, I think that being an author, a great space is TikTok, because if I was an author, like with my own book and really passionate about talking about my book regularly, I would read a passage of my book every single day and create a TikTok out of it, and then have the link at the top for people to buy my book every day. Especially like if it was like an audio version that they only had like a $2 choice to make, then you could be having someone buy your book every day. And you can go live on TikTok after you have 1,000 followers. The next thing I'll say is Facebook is always going to it's always going to be like the home base, right, for everyone. So no matter how anyone feels about Facebook, it's important to always be there. For example, we definitely want to make sure that we understand, like we go and log on somewhere and it's like, do you want to use our Facebook to log in for that? Okay, so Facebook's probably going to be staying around. So just getting friendly with Facebook and staying friendly with Facebook. Instagram, short form, but also stories. People are also making decisions based on the stories. Behind the scenes is great for stories. So just saying hello and letting people know what you're doing. Maybe you're sitting there writing for your book, your next book, and you just take a little video and hold it up of your handwriting. And then you have a link to your last book to buy. Like, have fun with it. Stories should be playful and fun and informative. Just think of how everyone opens their phone to be entertained. They don't open their phone to be serious. Don't try and be serious all the time and be like you're some major thought leader all the time. Okay. Pinterest will drive traffic to your website. So with Pinterest, understand that if you want to do what's called idea pins, that it works very similar to YouTube. Your idea pins are a short form video that'll help grow your channel faster. And then all your other pins will get them to the website. Okay. And then again, I just want to say, we're going through so much of this like really quickly because I want to make sure to get you guys some your juices flowing. But if you do want to learn this stuff, you know, normally when I'm coaching people one-on-one, it's not the $50 a month. It's, you know, over $1,000 a month. But I am able to help get people going in all of these areas in my Get Seen membership, where it's a community. It's a community for women entrepreneurs, but I do coach and work with men in different ways. So if there are men watching, like, please reach out to me with my website, leilaniwells.com, and connect with me in the DMs, however works for you. But the Get Seen membership is a great, and attend the LinkedIn audio events masterclass. That'll be definitely beneficial for you as well. Okay, so then Twitter, I shared with you guys about Twitter. Great idea for Twitter. Another thing too is to make sure that we have our pinned posts where you're able to on the platform. So Twitter, pin your posts, and then Clubhouse, just have conversations. Okay, I'm going to stop there so I can just, you know, keep it timely and answer questions that anyone might have or comments, any of that.
Well, I'm super encouraged. You made it sound really easy. I think we can all agree that, wow, even the whole, I don't want to be visibly seen. How can I put myself out there? I think it's awesome for the authors to know how to take their quotes, their sentences, their one-liners, and put them on Twitter. I didn't even think of that. That was the furthest thing, because I myself have said, what's the point of Twitter? I don't have anything to share, to retweet, to do any other things. I don't have time for that, right? So I love the thought of doing that. What I would normally say is, there's 52 weeks out of a year. You've got to have 52 powerful statements, powerful punches out of your book, thought-provoking ideas and concepts that you can utilize in some sort of way on social media. And yeah, every single social media account, including emails, including stages, there's a way to take 1 week, 1 quote, 1 sentence weekly and spread it across those social media platforms for the purpose of someone getting caught up in the loop. So I think that is beautiful. Even the idea of the Leilani loop or the Dr. Thurston loop. He does a great job on Facebook now, but clearly there's other places and spaces. I think, Dr. Thurston, you can see you need to be. So I think that's really, really great. Yeah.
I'm thankful. I'm very, very thankful. It's so funny because I'm one of those people who have lived multiple lives. So in one of my former lives, I was doing branding and marketing, but I left it behind. And you know, the algorithms, everything changes so much. And then I went quiet for about almost 3 years. I was tired. I was done. Right. And I'm now coming back out. Like, I think I've had LinkedIn for 8 years. I have never, like, I've had a thing posted up, and Kaisha and I are actually in the process of updating our LinkedIns, and because I know that's where my clients are. So I'm really happy that you shared this information. I definitely want to connect with you some more. But I really appreciate that you shared that, because now it makes me feel, again, because I'm also one of those people who understands the importance of social media, but doesn't necessarily like it. I don't want to put on makeup to do it. I don't want to be I'm not a frivolous speaker. So just to go on and do a dance and show you something, I'm not going to do it. Right. So just reminding and pulling out those things like, yeah, no, take this and repurpose it, put it here and do this. I just really, really appreciate it. It's making me feel like I got stuff to do this coming week that I can get finished. So thank you.
I love that. Real quick before you run off, I know you got to get going, Tiffany. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll message you after the event.
I already did, girl.
Okay.
It's already in there.
Okay. I love it. Yeah. So did anyone have any questions right now in the audience or on screen that you'd like to ask?
I've been monitoring. We've had quite a few in and out people that are traveling by, and so um, you mentioned something earlier. We definitely will download this and um, try and compress it and email it over, and of course, everyone will have access to it from our website as well. But just so informative. I would say my socks were blown off if I was wearing socks today. But just the information. Kaisha, you've been wonderful all 3 Saturdays, and then bringing, am I saying it right?
Leilani, yes. And
Leilani?
I put the Purple Heart. I've used it in a lot of places because purple stands for royalty and abundance.
Mhm.
And that's what I choose to put out in the world right now. So in my hopes for myself and those that am surrounded with. So I wish you all abundance and to treat yourself like the royalty that you are. Yeah.
Awesome. Kaisha, I want to give it back to you because I know there was some end thoughts too you wanted to share, and then but before we do that, I heard you say Tiffany had to leave. Tiffany, let us give you the screen.
No,
Okay.
Oh, okay. I thought you had to leave. Okay, I was going to say let us give you the screen so that you can have your final words as you guys cycle through. One more time,
Leilani, yeah, and it was Tanisha that had to leave. I just saw the T and didn't read. I thought it was Tiffany.
Yep, it was. So actually, I just want to make sure the 3 of you that were presenting, you have ample time to give your information. I'll do my best to type in as you're talking, but if you take your time and just share it, they're going to hear it. So I want to make sure that we do that. We give you that opportunity to please share as much information about how to connect with you, phone numbers, websites, and all that stuff.
Okay. Should I go right now and complete that and share that?
Sure. Okay, we'll give you the screen.
Okay. So yeah. So here are some of the ways that we can connect and or work together. So my website is the hub for all things. It's leilaniwells.com. Leilani is spelled Leilani. And then my handle on Instagram and everywhere else is Leilani M. Wells. So if you aren't sure about, working together or doing any of the things that I share about or invite you to today, you can go ahead and follow me and connect with me there. What I would definitely love for you to attend in the here and now that I think would be of benefit to everyone who's been on this long, especially because you're on this long because you probably value the information that we've gone over. I would love to see you at the LinkedIn Audio Events Masterclass, or if you are a woman author and or business owner, I would love to see you as part of Get Seen, the membership, so that we can really build out on that marketing and expand on it. And the program itself will give you access to me and my community to have information just like this every single week throughout the week, so that you can grow in your visibility in your own time and pace and not have to worry about all the things at once. And that's GetSeenMembership.com, GetSeenMembership.com. And if you put that up while this is talking on a tab on your computer or write it down somewhere, you're going to get more in-depth information and your mind is going to be blown. You're going to be like, why is she only charging $50 for this? It's crazy. But it's because, like I shared, I am a single mom, and it does give you access to me and a level where I don't have to be in all the places, and I can spend more time with my family and still give you guys all the things. And then if you are part of that membership, you get to attend the LinkedIn Audio Events Masterclass for free. If you just want to, if you're not sure about the membership, go to that masterclass. It's $47 one time. It's on recording if you can't make it at that event. And you still receive that information. And my bonus on that training is you're going to learn how to set up your bio for success on LinkedIn. So all of this has like thousands of dollars of value, and you have 2 options at the $50-ish price point. So those are the 2 that I wanted to share with you: LinkedInAudioEvents.com and or GetSeenMembership.com. All right. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Awesome. Tiffany, if you'd like to share.
Yes, I'm actually in the process of, like I said, revamping all of my websites, but you can find me, you can always email me at hello@tiffanyRashel.com, TiffanyRashel.com. You can find me on all social media platforms under Tiffany Rashel and the number one. I have a YouTube channel, The Wisdom Fountain, and a Facebook community, the Wisdom Fountain, where as Leilani pointed out, that's the holding place, that's the home base for everything. I do sessions, cyclical sessions for my masterclass and mentorship, and I'm actually producing a mastermind, which will be available later on this year. But those places, any place you want to find me, Tiffany Rashel and the number one. So Tiffany Rashel 1. Email me, hello@tiffanyRashel.com. You can always DM me on social media. And again, the Wisdom Fountain on IG. I don't post a lot out there, but LinkedIn, definitely please reach out to me on LinkedIn, as I'm looking to expand my LinkedIn profile much more. And I look forward to talking to you wherever. Okay. I'll put the links in the chat too.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, let's, I see some others now. It's like a cycle, Kaisha. I think, I don't know if it has to do, maybe Leanna, it has something to do with the days, the timing. I'm not sure, but it seemed like there's now an influx of people who are bouncing in, stopping by. So those of you that are looking, we're getting ready to pretty much wrap up the Living Legacy webinar. It was a 3-day event. Today's the final day, and I would encourage you to catch the replay. I will share just really quick. If you go to kibiw.org, it's kibiw.org. I'll put it in the comment section as well. www.kibiw.org. That's a shame that I have to say it to myself. But there was so much rich information today. If you're just coming in, I really don't want you to miss it. And so if you go to kibiw.org, and if you click on the webinar, we're going to release it. Right now, there's a password. You have to type in LLW1. Don't even bother writing that password down. We're going to lift the password, give everyone access to that, to what you're seeing now on demand. So come back to that website, and then all of the connections that has been shared here on today, we'll do our best to either grab logos from each of our presenters. We'll add those logos to that page, and then persons can connect directly from there and get to your sites. So I see a few things that are coming in now. I will put those up, and I'm going to put the rest of the webinar, the closing remarks, we're going to give them to Kaisha. And again, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Now, don't leave. We're going to give her the page, but we'll come back together for those that can stay. But Kaisha, we're going to give you the screen now.
Awesome. So yeah, there was so much covered, and I believe, it was more impactful than I even could wish or hope for. I'm so grateful to have really gotten a clarity on identity and really getting past the root of who and what and why you thought you're not the person to do what you're supposed to do. Tiffany really gave us an insight into really understanding, listen, you are who you are, and there's purpose in it. And everything from that moment to now added into that, into you becoming who you are. And so before I even promote myself or anyone else, I want to promote that. Please, if you do have you need that support in becoming true to yourself, please connect with her. The grace on her to, and let me tell you, it's rapid. There's an instantness. I'm sure there's a better word, but there's this urgency and this complete snap of a finger check of identity that will happen in the matter of no time. I'm talking, it could be a conversation. And here's the thing with that. She has this grace to identify the lie that you keep hearing in your head. And once that lie has been literally identified, you then are like, oh, that was it? Because really that's all it is. So I want to encourage you to connect with her. She didn't mention, but she will be having a discipline challenge coming up in the month of March. So please connect with her on social media and the Wisdom Fountain, because a lot of us, it just starts with discipline, just being disciplined to make a decision to do something. And that's where you can begin. Also to Leilani, I mean, I'm telling you, all of our fears and our excuses have been just stepped on. There's no reason why not to put yourself out there. There's no reason. The only reason now you can say is I'm not technically savvy. Well, guess what? There are hundreds of millions of people across all platform sites. And the ones that I love watching are the older generation, the ones who you would think couldn't do this thing. They make the best content. I know that you all can agree, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or even giving their thoughts on Twitter. They're not scared to say what they want to say. They have the best content, and it's the ease of using your phone. So no limiting thoughts. All of us, we have the ability to be visible, and it starts with being vulnerable, as she stated. And so if you are saying, okay, I'm ready, and please connect with Leilani and just get that really it's going to be a community and partnership and accountability. You've got a great friend who is going to say, come on, let's do this. Come on, let's post this. She's great. And she's but yes, on TikTok, love them. There are so many that I follow. They're great. And so connect with her and get seen. And I have to, I am connected because I need the push. But I will say this, you can reach me on any social media platform. And I say any, but really there's only Facebook, Instagram, and I am getting the LinkedIn going. And you can reach me at, and YouTube, we'll be getting some things posted there. But you can reach me, it's the at Self-Publish with Kaisha. And that's Kaisha, Self-Publish with Kaisha. That's the at handle on those social media platforms. And it's also the website, selfpublishwithkaisha.com. As new information is being posted, you will continue to learn more about me and what I do. And the goal of what I am doing is to make self-publishing easy, to make it affordable, profitable, to just take the guesswork out of it. And it's very important, whatever you need to know regarding the self-publishing journey, this writing journey, don't hesitate to reach out. You can call me, you can email me, and like even Tiffany stated, you can message me on social media, and I'm happy to answer your questions. Once those questions, those doubts and fears are defeated, then it's easy to move on, and it may be one simple question. So don't hesitate to ask. Do not hesitate to reach out, so that way you can get going. We're putting all of those thoughts aside. And I do want to say this final thing, because so much has been said. You know, one of the core reasons, my why of doing what I'm doing, is to make sure that this publishing process is simplified and it's affordable. And so my cost is very, very low. You have to go to the website for that, because that's not really why I'm saying this. But I keep my price very low. It's one set price given to me by God, and I won't change it until He says otherwise. But the reason is because you have to have resources and capital to invest in your authorship and your business. The individuals like Leilani and like Tiffany and the upcoming things that I know Dr. Thornton is going to be having, just like this webinar, putting up an investment into getting this knowledge. you have to have the resources to do so. And you can't rob yourself. No more robbing yourself of opportunity because of finances, because this is how you're going to make finances. So it's important to know I have to invest in myself, especially your business self. We invest in our education. If there's something you need to learn, and as business people, they invest in cohorts, they invest in masterminds, and at all prices. My husband pays $700 a month for his group, his CEO group. There's other places that pay even into the thousands a month, $1,500 a month, just to be around wise people, wisdom, wise counsel, getting strategies and tips on how to move forward, learning from each other. This is a requirement of business. And so if you don't see it that way, I need you to start seeing it that way, because your book is more than a book. We got to start going beyond the book. Even if you haven't written your book yet, you need to already be in that mind state of, okay, God gave me a book to write. I had no idea what he really wants me to do. And you may not see the full vision yet, but that's okay. Your obedience, your yes to doing it, that's what's required. Now look at the help that is showing up. Socially, social media, there's Leilani. Such a great opportunity to be involved in that, to help get that push you need. And then you've got someone who's going to help shape you and get rid of all the debris and the lies of who you're not. You've got someone like Tiffany. And then you have a great educator and supporter. Dr. Thurston, I can't thank you enough for what it is that you've done. This started with a conversation with myself, just to be interviewed on what I do. And that was thanks through Tanisha. I had no idea it would be this. And I just have to say, I am grateful and thankful for the opportunity to be seen here to discuss all of the things we've discussed, identifying the writer in you and understanding how easy it is to put this book together, and then how easy it is to transition into leadership and to put it all together and show the world who you really are. We could not have done this without you and your instant obedience. Not delayed obedience, instant obedience. So we're grateful and we're thankful for this time and this space and your devotion to doing this. This is a great pleasure for all of us to be a part of this. And truly, we thank you. So that's it. That's my time. I can't wait to hear the next thing you're going to do in the future. And for everyone who joined, all of the guest speakers, all of the aspiring writers, an applaud to you for taking the time, because just the ability to be here and to say, I need this information, is the biggest investment that you can make for yourself just starting off. So congratulations to all of you who've made that yes. And you were here on any of the days and are here now or watching later. So Dr. Thurston, that's it for me. Thank you.
Well, thank you all so much. We, I would be remiss, Pastor Jan. She's been with us all 3 days. So yeah, definitely we applaud her for investing again, as you said, Kaisha, investing in herself. I certainly want to hear from you as well. Maybe if you want to briefly share as we're getting ready to part. You hung out with us, so we want.
Yeah, I am just truly blown away. Such a treasure trove of information that people pay thousands of dollars for this, and I'm forever grateful. My mind, like you, my mind is blown, inspired. I'm encouraged, and I can't wait to get back to writing. So thank you, ladies, for what you shared. Thank you, just even for being role models that I as an author, new author, can look up to and say, they did it, I can do it. So thank you. This is Black History Month, so you guys are heroes in my eyes, sheroes in my eyes. Thank you for your sharing, and thank you for your lived experiences that have brought you to the point that you're at. So peace and blessings to you. And again, Dr. Thurston, thank you for making this available. They say that if you want to know where you're going to be in 5 years, look at who's surrounding you. And I think I am, my future looks bright. So thank you again.
Well, definitely, again, we thank the Lord, and I appreciate all of you. Kaisha, you know, we done had our moments where we just get on the phone and share what we're gonna do, and then we pray and look at God. That's all we can say. I know He's doing great things, and He has great things in store for everyone. My prayer is that the Lord will bless you, all of you, our presenters, that He would bless you abundantly. That He would not only bless you abundantly, but that He would bless and gift you so that your reach would surpass what you even envision, what you think, all that you guys have poured out. And it doesn't matter that you came on today and wasn't there, the first 2 sessions, right? It's the fact that I believe we all connected together, and it's going to take this type of I heard you all use the word influencers. It's going to take this type of influence to combat the enemy in the minds of people. And so folks can be free. I believe that the next 100, 200, 300,000 persons that approach you, Leanna and Tiffany and Kaisha, I believe that those individuals are going to be the means of freedom for so many other millions of people around the world. The best is yet to come. I tell you, we talk about greatness, Pastor Jan. I'm excited. I'm looking at, I know this may not mean much to you guys, but in my screen, I'm looking at myself sitting in the center of 4 powerful, super, I should say powerful, super gifted women, infused with the power of God. And I just, if you could see, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, if you all could see what the Lord is showing me now, just looking at you all on the screen, really the best is yet to come. That's not a cliche. So I would prepare, and Isaiah says,
Glory to God.
He says, go and dig deep. Get you some pegs and get them in the ground. Go deep. Prepare your tents. Get ready for increase.
Yes.
Get ready, because what God has for you, I tell you, what you have now, if you have bank accounts, go and get another bank account. Call it the overflow fund. Open it up. Go out and buy you a new dress or new pantsuit, whatever it is you wear, and get ready for your new, as you've been encouraging and pouring into everyone else. Now get ready for yours. That's concerning this problem. So God bless you all. I tell you, I love you. I love you for what you're doing. I will make this available. And Kaisha, is it okay if we use, let's see. There we go. Is it okay if we use, if I send it to you, that you can get it to the other women? Would that be okay? Awesome. Well, thanks again, everybody. Thank you for those of you that hung out with us, Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn. It's been a run. We got much more to come in the near future. My prayer is that this relationship that is being forged through Kaisha and Leanna and Tiffany, that we can keep the relationship going and continue to help people. Amen. All right. Blessings to everyone.
Blessings to you.
We'll see you at the next event.
Yes.
Bless.
Bye-bye.